Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show, bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Recording live in studio, here's Nick and Matt.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Monday night to everybody. Matt, we're on episode 150, and we say this a lot when we hit these random milestones, but man, you and I started the show during COVID as kind of a fun thing to do, and it has blown up, I think, well beyond what we ever thought it would. But anyways, we've reached 150 episodes, most of them being on Monday nights, or I think we used to do Thursday nights. We've done a couple random Tuesday nights in there, but once again, this episode is presented by Cosmic DG. Go check out all of your cosmic needs over at CosmicDG.com. They have some really awesome things, and I think this will actually be very beneficial after the PDGA announcement today for tournament directors of the potential new D tiers, if that is actually going to become a thing. Learn how to get paid being a tournament director through CosmicDG.com, and they'll set you up. Matt, how we doing? Am I even...
Oh, no.
Am I muted or is Matt muted?
I don't
Matt,
hear
are you
Matt.
muted? Does the chat hear me? Just making sure. Everybody in the chat type
All right,
yes.
Matt's
if you can
giving
hear
us
me.
a second. Well, hey, Nick, if you're mentioning PDGA rules, I think it's July 31st. If you're listening to this live or very shortly after post-produce, PDGA Board of Directors voting is live until 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. As of recording right now, that's under 5 hours away. Last the PDGA put out, I think they're at 13% voter turnout for active members. Of course, there's a lot of people involved in that. You have, memberships for kids and dogs and whatnot, but still 13% is fairly low even for, any kind of voter turnout. So if you have not voted yet and you're listening to this before that deadline, go up and pull the email up. It got sent to you, and do whatever you have to do to remember to do it right after the show ends.
This is one of those moments, once again in life, where if you complain about something with the PDGA, if you want to see something changed, if you don't like how something is going, now is your time to vote. This is the biggest thing that we can do as members of the PDGA, is actually vote on the changes that we want to see. And this is your chance. So like Evan just said, after the show, go ahead and vote. But hey, Matt's back. Matt, everyone was saying they purposely muted you and it turned into the Nick and Evan show.
Again.
But sorry, everybody. Matt is able to speak.
That was hey, that was only like a minute flat. We were running around in the studio down here, me and Ben just doing like this weird dance with arm in arm, and then it started working.
Nice.
So I don't know if you mentioned this because I had my headphones off for a minute, but we did a 48-hour giveaway, YouTube subscriber giveaway last week. 48 hours. We said following the show, we were going to start 48-hour timer. Anyone who subscribed in there had a chance of winning 2 discs and some swag. We did end up having it at 20 hours. The subscriber, let me find it here. I just said it a minute ago to you guys. This is the way the YouTube subscriber name is. Alan Shorter. Like the opposite of taller, shorter. So Alan Shorter, you win. And I don't know how to contact their YouTube. So they better be listening. They subscribed. Reach out to us through Instagram, through Facebook, through email at the Nick and Matt DG show at gmail.com and tell us who you are. We're going to have everyone, I'm Alan Shorter. Everyone's, I'm Alan Shorter.
Exactly.
So we're going to have to figure out how to prove that. Maybe a screenshot or something.
Take a picture of your YouTube account, your credit card. Just kidding.
All right.
Your social security number. Just kidding. But hey, congratulations, Alan. That is one of the giveaways, Matt. That is one of the giveaways. Let's talk about really quick the massive giveaway that we are doing in collaboration with the the MVP Open at Maple Hill, presented by OTB Discs, I think is actually what it is. Steve Dodge came on our show a few weeks ago and talked about this massive giveaway for some gold VIP passes that they have, and we are giving away 2 sets of them. It's valued at, what do we say, $1,100 a piece, so $2,200
$2,200 giveaway. It's going to be for you and a friend or family member or whatever, but and you get one of those elite parking spots, which is at Hole 1's like parking area, where they're not letting the pros park, they're not letting regular people park, only the elite And that's just one of the things that's a bonus there, including all the amenities on the course, as well as every evening or day having something to do, including we added into that an appearance in the studio for a live recording if you'd like to the Monday before. So there's a lot of value there. We're giving it away to somebody who is a subscriber and has really gone out of their way to tag us in social media everywhere. We've been getting bombarded in a nice way. And as soon as we hit that 10,000, we're giving it away. So we're pretty close. There's 200 left. Do whatever it takes to get that to that mark. We know we would hit it before at some point, but this is just getting us there a little earlier so we can do the giveaway for this event. We're still about 6 weeks out from the event, so this is plenty of time. But this next week would be fantastic to hit that number this week. Let's do it. And to help do that, we're restarting the 48-hour giveaway. So once again, any subscribers in the next 48 hours have a chance. It could be 200 of you, or it could be less. Odds are saying it might be less than that in the next 48 hours. So there's a 1 in who knows how many chance you could win something. So subscribe now. 48-hour giveaway begins at the end of the show. Well, no, we'll start now. But no, we'll start now. 7 o'clock. That way people subscribe. Okay. Perfect. We got all that out of the way. Sorry about all these giveaways. I hope people don't mind, but we're taking up time to tell you about giveaways. We have a lot going on. Andrew PRESNELL joining in just a few minutes here. 12 minutes. And then we've got Corey Ellis joining. We know he did the podcast circuit this week, but we're hoping to capture a few things that maybe went missed or not, and just hearing for our fans here to get to hear. So with that being said, let's throw it over to Evan. Evan, I'm sorry I didn't get to introduce you earlier. My microphone wasn't working, but take it away.
Ooh, look at this. Well, I got to introduce myself earlier, so that's okay. And hopefully people know who I am by this point. We had a stellar weekend of a lot of different events. I'll start off with probably the one that people are most familiar with, and that's the Mid-America Open, happening at the Harmony Benz course in, I think it's Columbia, Missouri, or outside. Columbia is kind of the center of Missouri between St. Louis and Kansas City. That is the home state of Andrew PRESNELL, who took it down in MPO in a one-hole playoff. He went to a playoff with Gannon Burr, who's like the king of silver events, but PRESNELL takes him down. Owen Scoggins wins an FPO. She had a great comeback. We have to mention Alexis Mandujano shooting the course record in round 1. I forget what the course record was beforehand. I think it was 2 down, maybe 3 down. She shot a 9 down in round 1.
No, it was 1 down. It was surprising. And then everybody was blowing it away. That was a conversation I was thinking of for later. But anyways, she destroyed it.
Holland Hamley had a great round in round 2. She was kind of in the mix, but not quite at the top. But Owen Scoggins just steady, brings it back. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it, but it looked very exciting. And Owen gets her second silver win of her career. She won the 2020 Goat Hill Challenge, if that's the correct name, but the one, Goat Hill in San Diego.
Yep.
Excuse me there. That was her first ever silver event. She's played about a dozen in between and then gets another one. Then PRESNELL gets his first victory of any kind. He's the 6th MPO player this season to get a major elite or silver, get their first, major elite or silver event of their career. We saw Corey Ellis do it just last week over in Europe, but Prez gets it done here. Interesting enough, PRESNELL went, I'm calling him PRESNELL, Andrew Prez, he goes by a lot of names, but Andrew PRESNELL went over to Europe. There's a lot of players who went over, a lot of Americans, and it was a full field, but I don't think you heard about him too much. He comes back and first event back gets a win. He ended up missing cash over in Europe, finished 59th. He also missed cash at the other major this year. It was a 53rd at Champions Cup. So he was not the best major stint, but as Ben was saying in our group chat, he's like, hey, Prez is having a sneaky good season.
Man.
And he has, and picks up a big win for himself. Any thoughts on Mid-America before I swing it over to Europe?
Gannon Burr.
I think there's a lot of thoughts about Mid-America.
Missed the 20-footer, and he made a post a few hours
push
later.
in the playoff.
Yeah, to push in the playoff. Right. He did this weird, and we know Gannon, he's a friend of the show, but he did this weird, in my opinion, kind of tippy-toe a little bit in his social media post a few hours later, like I missed, I'm embarrassed. People were walking on the green. So he starts to bring in a little bit of excuses why he missed. Fair. It probably is partly why he missed. But it has this weird feel sometimes when you're like, competitors. You want to tell why, but at the same time, you don't want to take anything away from Andrew Presnell. And so it's like, I think he did an okay job at just being transparent. Who needed this more for their career? I think we know that Andrew is benefiting largely from this, whereas Gannon, it would have stacked on. It would have been big. That's an interesting argument. Who would it be bigger for? But anyways.
Yeah, I know Nick has something to say, but if Gannon won this one, he might be pushing the race. It's only a silver event.
Right.
But with Calvin not getting a win in a major, not winning since April, I think Gannon could have slid into that number one for player of the year spot, even number one in the world. I mean, that's an argument that we can have for sure. But Nick, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you got thoughts on this.
I mean, my thoughts, besides the playoff, besides the actual play of it, is just once again we had bad weather at this tournament, which caused massive delays throughout it. It caused the cut after 2 rounds. I know a lot of players were upset about that. It's tough. It's let's see. One of the things in round 2 was that holes 1, 2, 3, and 18 were unplayable. So they played a 14-hole second round. And then I think they technically started or finished the second round on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, the top cards did, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so, just kind of crazy. This is that tournament that I think it's the main reason why it could never be an Elite Series event. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch much of the coverage this weekend. I was playing a tournament of my own, and from what I've heard, Harmony Bends is one of the most beautiful courses in the world. It's a John Houck designed course, which usually when John Houck is designing a course, it's a pretty awesome course.
Definitely
it just
quality.
Has the issue of the weather, what seems like every single year. And like I said, I think that's just what keeps it at a Silver Series event. And to be honest, I think after this has happened again, the Mid-America Open won't be a Silver Series event if it's played at Harmony Bend. Yeah.
Harmony Bends. I think it's
Harmony Bends.
Plural.
Excuse me. I almost got it confused. My gosh, I can't speak right now. With Harmon Hills out in Tennessee, where I just was this past weekend. Yeah. So, anyways, I wasn't at that course, but I was in Tennessee.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it was a 14-hole layout just for MPO in round 2. The MPO started playing a full 18, but then there was a rain delay. So then after they realized 1 through 3 and hole 18 were unplayable, as you were saying. So they cut it to a 14-hole round for MPO. It did go over to the next day for a lot of cards.
Which is kind of nuts, too, because of hole 18 being as difficult as it is. Especially with the kind of scoring separation that hole does bring. I think that was pretty... It sucks. It's just a crappy situation.
Yeah, and iconical at that too. So you want to be able, and hole 1 as well. Hole 1's fantastic, and Grant Zellner on the call even made the joke of when Gannon Buhr and Andrew Presnell were playing through it again. They're like, "Hey, look, some MPO players do get to play it a third time because they didn't get to play it in round 2. So getting to play it in rounds 1, 3, and the playoff were cool." I do want to swing it over Europe before we bring in Prez. We had the Åland Open, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's in Finland, but it's in the Baltic Sea between Finland and Sweden. It's notably the island or collection of islands that have dozens of courses on it. It was a Finland wanted to have kind of a tourist destination of disc golf. So it's very, very cool that it gets this kind of heightened level. And so you have tons of courses there. They ended up having a 3-round tournament that started on Thursday, ended on Saturday. We saw a few notable names like Eagle McMahon, Nicholas Antala, in MPO specifically, but we had a new name, Miro Räihänen, take it down. He is a young gun. I think he's under 18, as I've heard some people say, a teenager still at least. And he takes it down. It's a Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver event point level. It's a PDGA Euro Tour event. And so that's very cool for Miro Räihänen, if I'm getting that right, to get his first win. But on the FPO side, we have seen someone who's won many times this year on the Euro Tour. Silver Saarinen gets her 4th Euro Tour victory of the year. She's only played 4 Euro Tour events in her career all this year, all wins. And she becomes only the second player, FPO player, to win 4 or more PDGA Euro Tours in a single season. The only other one being Kristen Tatar, who did it in 2019. So that is pretty good company. Those courses, again, are a tourist destination, just like Harmony Bends. And the other one, Järva in Sweden, that I want to get to real quick on the European Pro Tour. We saw Luke Humphreys and Olivia Keinstedt take it down, if I'm pronouncing that one right as well. I don't know much about Olivia Kindset before this event, but I do have some stats about Luke Humphreys. This is PDGA win number 30 for him of his career, all divisions, all tiers. But he becomes the first U.S. player to win a European Pro Tour event. Of course, I just mentioned the Euro Tour earlier. We've seen Americans win that events on that tour before. I mean, notably Paul McBeth, Bradley Williams, to name a few just this season. In the European Open is a major. It's not on the European Pro Tour. So it's just this specific tour. We have not yet seen an American winner in its few years of his existence. And who would have guessed Luke Humphreys being the first one to take it down? So that's pretty cool. But before leaving that event and before any other thoughts, the shot of the tournament over there has to be the one you've seen go all around social media, as Kevin Jones had a grenade ace on a hole. I think it was about 240 feet, something around that range. They display everything in meters, so here I'm trying to guess the conversion. But of course, with the grenade, goes over the top everything and goes straight into the bucket.
That's
very
crazy.
Cool to see.
Very crazy. The fact that you could get a grenade to be that pinpoint, to go vertical into the basket, not flying horizontally. That's incredible. And Luke Humphreys taking it down. I think I saw Daniel in our chat say he surprises him sometimes. Dude, Luke surprises me every time he makes, this is to your point, Daniel. I do not laugh at his form because my form is bad. My form is bad. I'll just put it that way. But I laugh in some ways because it's so unique to how others are throwing. I mean, think of Eric Oakley, and now Luke Humphreys has a unique kind of, I don't know, whipping throw style. And then usually you see, like, is it the Timberland boots and all that sometimes out there? So anyways, It's a huge congratulations to him. I'm picking on him unfairly in some ways, but he beat KJ, Kevin Jones, and a lot of other good players. Wow. And that's a cool stat for him to have. You said first American to take down a Euro Tour. Is that what you said?
Yes, that is correct. I think Prodigy Disc or someone on the ground over the European Pro Tour had it first, but was able to verify it. Not that it needed to necessarily be verified, but very cool to see.
Very cool. Absolutely. Is that it, Evan?
That's all I had for the recap.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's really cool that we saw 3 destination courses all have a tour event in some capacity over the weekend. I mean, we could play a game of which one we would want to most play. I think all of them. Nick would pay $100 for Yarva. I might pay $100 for Harmony Bends. Fair enough. Someone else might pay $100 or to go to all 3, but to go to the Åland Islands as well.
Wow. So many cool things happening. We got a lot to talk about still, including PDGA rules proposals. We do have the interview with Andrew coming up next minute here, and a lot of other things. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring into the show Andrew Presnell, winner of the Mid-America Open, a Disc Golf Pro Tour silver event. And why you forgot to switch it?
There he is.
This is intern Ben leaving up Corey Ellis as the option. He'll be on later. So, Corey, welcome to the show, Andrew. How you doing, man?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. So, you've been grinding for a while, per all the sources and per all the media. You've been grinding, but tell us this story from your perspective. What made you decide to go on tour, and what has it been like for the past, I think you said, 7 years? To get to this point where I think you called it your biggest career win?
Yeah, so the moment I decided to go on tour, I was teaching at a high school for a couple years, and during the summer break, I decided I was going to tour for the summer and just see how it went. And if it went well, I was going to just dedicate myself to disc golf and quit teaching. And I felt like it went pretty well. And so at the end of the summer, I let my principal know, hey, I'm not going to be coming back. I'm going to go chase this dream that I have. And that's kind of how it started. And then I've just been grinding a lot of local stuff, working my way up to the pro tour events that we play nowadays. And I think I have like 85 or 86 PDGA wins, but I think maybe 7 or 8 of those are A tiers, and then this is my first Pro Tour victory. So definitely the most prestigious victory that I've had out of the many of wins that I have had.
And we want to get into, you know, what this means for you going forward, but I also would imagine you mentioned, you know, all the years and the improvements you've had to finally get to a place even today, or where you're talking about a Pro Tour win. How many times over these past years did you think maybe it's time for me to move on? We see lots of players do that. Did you ever have that feeling?
Hard to say. I mean, like maybe this off season a little bit. I kind of had doubts maybe if I was still good enough, you know, but I still wanted to go out on tour and pursue what I've been pursuing the last six or 7 years, which is to get a big victory. And I was able to get this Silver Series victory. And so I think that definitely solidifies that I'm still doing the thing that I'm meant to be doing and that I'm not near the end of my career yet.
Right. And what does a win like this do for you, whether it's mentally or financially? Like, what does this do for you to stimulate like the rest of the season and maybe looking forward?
Yeah, it's definitely a mental booster, a confidence booster. We're coming up on a lot of big events that have a lot of prestige and like Pro Tour standings points. We got Ledgestone, D-Glow, the other playoff event. And so I think definitely having a little bit more confidence coming up to those big events is going to help me hopefully finish to play the Pro Tour finale at the end of the year, which I missed out on last year. So I think if I can make the finale, then it'll be an improvement from last season.
Do you know where you're standing right now, or do we need Statmando to pull it up for us?
I think I'm 25th in the standings right now.
Okay. Well, I know you don't want to count your chickens before or your eggs, however they say that, but you're doing good. In our group chat, Ben Kenny, our intern here, intern Ben.
Hello.
He's like, dude, he's having a sneaky good season. So we're following a little bit here, but now this win kind of puts that stamp that you're talking about for sure.
Yeah.
Nick,
yeah. I feel like I've had some solid finishes, and then weirdly enough, the two majors I haven't played well at. But European Open, I was coming off of a back injury, so I hadn't played in like 11 days or something. I couldn't even stand up 6 days before the tournament started. So, I mean, I was just happy to get over there and play at the event. But then, yeah, the other major, Champions Cup, I just forgot how to putt. And so I kind of worked on doing a little bit different putt ever since Champions Cup, and I feel like that has definitely helped me since.
I feel like
very cool.
So many people relate when we have on a guest in an interview and they talk about forgetting how to putt. I'm like, everybody's like, he's one of us. Like like it's something that we all struggle with, but it's awesome to see. Can you fill us in real quick? And Nick, I'll hand it over to you. I didn't know if you were frozen for a while.
No, you're good.
But what was going on with the back? Because you did mention it now, and you mentioned it in your post-round interview. Like, was this an accident or just a lingering thing?
So the last round of Preserve, I woke up and kind of my back was very, very stiff with a certain movement, kind of like the slight bending down. And I've kind of had this injury in the past, and I know like when I get it bad, it takes me out for a solid week. But I played the Preserve or whatever. Then I went to Kansas City wide open, and I was playing a practice round. I got through 9 holes, and I was just like, man, this just doesn't feel right. And so I think I went to a chiropractor the next day, and then I was just stretching it in the shower, and I felt it go just tweak and give all the way in. And I was like, yep, I know that pain. I know that pain. And so, I mean, I dropped the Kansas City wide open, and then I was focused on getting better for European Open, which I think my flight was that next Sunday. So I had about 9 days to get better. And man, like for 6 or 7 days, I just couldn't even get out of bed. I could barely stand up and walk. I mean, sometimes I'd almost collapse to the ground in pain. But yeah, I had all kinds of like chiropractors, doctor's visits, some medication. I did some dry needling, and but yeah, I woke up a couple days before my flight to Europe, and I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better. Like I definitely noticed a big jump from like the searing pain to just like a little bit less pain, but like I was able to stand up and walk. And so, yeah, I played one practice round at the European Open, taking it very, very lightly just because I didn't want to retweak anything or just injure myself any further. But yeah, I think hopefully the back injury's behind me, and I can focus on just practicing like normal.
Definitely. I've got kind of one basic question, and a lot of our chat is asking it as well, is what did you teach before going out on the road?
Yeah, I did special education for 3 years. I did 2 years of middle school special ed, and then I did 1 year of high school.
Is there anything that you miss about teaching in the sense of, do you kind of miss the consistency of that life, or is the tour just everything that you could hope and dream of?
I don't want to like sound bad, but there's nothing that I miss about teaching.
Okay.
Not a thing.
Wow.
There you go.
I don't think it's for me. Yeah, I just don't think it's for me. I do miss the like the personal connections you kind of build with students and stuff. And I was also coaching multiple sports, and so being in that role and just developing students who are trying to get better in their athletics and or classwork.
Did you ever
I do miss that part.
Did you ever catch up with James Proctor? I feel like James had a similar background before joining the tour.
Yeah, I know he was a special needs teacher as well. Yeah, I don't think we've really talked too much about it. But
well, it's something I have no idea.
It's actually something to bring up now at this point.
Something's working.
There you go. All right, now a more disc golf savvy question. I would label you, and there's a few people out in the USA that are kind of like this, where you're in your area, and whenever you travel, you are kind of one of the people who are labeled as a king of B tiers and C tiers, and then A tiers as well. You said you have 8 of them. Like, you are a really just beyond average, like, local tournament player. You have great ratings at them. You obviously have 84, 86 wins is what I was just looking at. What is playing those events like compared to the tour events? And what do you think, you're talking about a Champions Cup, you forgot how to putt, and then you'll go and play a B tier and average 1058 at it. Talk to us a little bit, just what is the mental side of, that player going from local events up into national events?
Weirdly enough, I probably, excuse me, I probably get more nervous at the local events just because I know I'm the top guy and I'm expected to win from everybody there. And so if I don't perform well, I feel like it's a huge letdown just for myself personally, but anybody else who's there rooting for me or, excited to see me at a smaller tournament. The big tournaments, there's obviously still some nerves, but I'm not the favorite to win, I would say, at any tournament. But I know that if I play well enough that I can win or place very high. So I feel like there's a little less pressure to perform perfect at the big events. But I feel like I've definitely kind of grasped what it takes to play in the clutch moments from the smaller events, because I have had multiple tournaments where a local guy is right on my heels at a small tournament, and I feel like that I have a lot of pressure to win, and I was able to kind of translate that yesterday. I honestly felt very, very little pressure on the last 5 or 6 holes. I was very, very calm and just kind of knew what I had to do.
And that kind of brings me slowly going into my next point about actually talking about the tournament, is what clicked this week that excelled you into winning your first Silver Series event on the Pro Tour? What was it about this week that's been different than other weeks?
So I think my driving off the tee was the best I've ever had. Almost every single hole out there, you got to hit some kind of gap, whether it's right off the tee or, a little bit down the fairway. And I can't recall in my head where I threw a shot and my disc just smacked a tree. It was always, I hit a tree real late in the flight, or I just peered the gap. And so I only had 2 bogeys for the entire tournament. One was a missed putt from 20 feet, and the second one was a 3 putt inside the circle. So I think just driving super well and giving myself all those opportunities to score definitely is what drove me to the top.
Okay.
So
go ahead, Matt.
You take down a player who you mentioned as arguably the best player in the world, and I think there definitely is an argument to be made there. Phenom's the right word there, but major winner at the youngest to win the USDGC, and then obviously performing very well this year, and then you have to go up with him on the card and perform at your highest to take it down. He alluded to, and I don't think he was trying to take anything away from your victory if you saw his social media post, but he alluded to possible distractions out there on the course. Did you feel like from your perspective that there was unnecessary distractions during drives or putts for you at any point?
For me, no.
Okay.
I can't speak on
Absolutely.
Gannon, what he saw, or, because it's different on every angle and every shot. But
Absolutely.
For me personally, no.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. How were the galleries out there? The camera sometimes doesn't do it justice. Were there hundreds of people, or what was it like?
I'd say a couple hundred people. A lot of people were camped up on hole 18, I think, waiting for everybody to come down the stretch. But there was a good maybe 100 people following the card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing compares to the European Open, we know. But you go from that to this, it's a little different in the woods. And then can you give us your perspective on the course? Like, is it the weather and the water that kind of holds this tournament back from becoming something more in the future? Like, you guys experienced it firsthand. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the course is fantastic. It's championship level course. Just the fact that it's in a floodplain is very unfortunate, and we just can't seem to play an entire event without some kind of rain messing up the tournament structure and the and the schedule. So yeah, I don't know if that is something that's gonna always keep it from jumping up to that Elite Series event or not, because I don't know, it really throws the tournament out of whack whenever it rains.
Des Moines does the same thing, and they're not in a floodplain. So I mean, it is an interesting conversation to be had surrounding that, but great to hear you talk about the quality of the course. We know John, we've interviewed him before, John Houck, incredible course designer for sure.
Is it more of a seasonal thing? Like, let's say the Mid-America Opening the Mid-America Open was happening in April. Is that potentially something that would help it out? Or is it
might be worse.
I was going to say, I might have just picked the worst month literally to say that, but
maybe the fall.
I thought about it right after. Maybe the fall. Okay.
Yeah.
And the event was
on my part. My bad.
The event was moved in 2021 when it was a silver event on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I believe it was in April then, and it moved to a nearby course. That was the year that Kyle Klein won with Heather Young.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So now it's in July. You'd think it would be better, but I don't know. Summer's
you
weird.
You think. So you won yesterday. You come into today. We reach out. I'm sure there's others who are reaching out or will be reaching out to you. This is a big moment for you. It's funny. It's like, you won. What are you going to do next? You're just going to the next event. Did you get in a practice round for Ledgestone?
I have not. Okay. I've actually not been feeling the best, hence my cough.
Yeah, we'll let you go in a minute.
But no, no practice round today. Hopefully get one or two in tomorrow. Whew.
Okay.
Hopefully get one or two in tomorrow, and then maybe one on Wednesday.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you didn't party too hard, and this isn't just the layover from the excitement, but you're obviously, your health is important, and we hope the best for you. Is there anything that we missed? Do you want to give any shout outs to any sponsors or anything?
Discraft, Ledgestone, Greasy Dyes. Gosh, sorry.
Take your time. Take your time. You're good.
Upper Park. And
we have no problem covering talking for you while you take care of your cough. That's fine too. We're good at talking, and we can fill in whatever we need to. But we wanted to give you an opportunity to shout out anybody else that you wanted to before we let you go.
And Smoking Aces.
There it is.
All right.
Special
I know,
shout out to Smoking Aces.
Yeah, I'll kind of say this for you, but Ledgestone does Andrew Presnell discs. You can go over to Ledgestone and help support Andrew on his tour. I think Rocket League Forces, is that right?
Yep.
Rocket League Forces, and Rocket League, pretty fun game. So if you want to support Andrew on his tour, ledgestone.com, ledgestoneinsurance.com.
Yep, shop Ledgestone.
There you
Perfect. Yeah, I saw that little mini stamp that Ledgestone did for you. It looks sick. It's just super, I don't know, minimalistic, but it's beautiful. I'm like, dude, like, I want one. So there you go. That's awesome. Go shop that. Support you. Anything else before we let you go that you wanted to say? This is your time on the show. Otherwise, we'll let you go and get some rest.
Just thank you, everybody that's reached out and congratulated me. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
All right. Appreciate it, Andrew. Feel better, and good luck at Ledgestone.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yep, have a great evening. We'll talk to you. Good luck. Everybody, Andrew Presnell. The stamp I was talking about has a simple capital P and then like rotated 45 degrees R, and then 45 E, and then 45 Z right in the middle, mini stamp. There's something about it stood out to me. Definitely go support him that way. A player like him, it means a lot more to, and I'll leave the names blank here that I'm about to say, but the players who are not needing that support, a win like this can really, I want to say jumpstart, because he's been grinding for so long, but it can reignite and jumpstart if we want to help him out that way. So that was awesome. I hope whatever he's coming down with or trying to get out of, I really hope that's just some sleep will help there. Thank you so much for coming on, Andrew. That was great.
A lot of water. He's just choking up about the win.
I was wondering.
We'll give it. Yeah,
He did do that. Did you watch his post-round interview? He choked up when he was asked about his dad carrying the bag. So I think that's really special. That's a moment that I would imagine myself feeling similarly. So that was awesome to see.
Well, when you're carrying the bag for Hunter or Tanner and they win a big event, you better hope that they cry in front of you. Yes, you're going to cry. We all know that.
He mentioned his disc. Nick, you mentioned that specifically Rocket League. I think that's so cool. He as a not very good Rocket player, but I used to play all the time. Just recently played later. Nick, depending on how bad you are, maybe we play sometime.
Definitely. Are you Xbox or PS4, PS5, PS1?
PC for Rocket League.
Oh, you do PC? Okay.
I have it on PS4 as well, but
gotcha.
Rocket League all PC now. But yeah, I think that's super cool. He's got, he had the Octane last year as the Fennec this year, and it says, what a par save, which if you're a Rocket League player, that's the most toxic thing you can say, but that seems a lot nicer. So I think that's very cool. I wanted to ask him about it, but he was talking a bit, and I think he just needs some rest. So I didn't want to.
That's where I kind of was.
I would have felt so bad asking another thing. Like, I know he probably is like happy to share some spotlight after a huge win, but it's tough.
This is now like off the show. It's part of the show. We're talking about it, but like, what do you do in a moment, right? Where it's like, oh, this person needs help. Honestly, maybe we could have said like, hey, go take a break, figure it out, come back. That's absolutely fine. That's not even a problem for the show at all. But we're like so mid and we're almost to the end of it. I think he was feeling a little funny. I think we handled it okay, but I did feel for him. I'm like, man, if that was me right now in the middle of an interview, and I'm like, I need to go get a drink, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm hoping whatever it is, again, he'll handle it fine. And we're really excited for the guy. That is epic. For him to get his career largest or biggest win. And that's awesome. So I wasn't trying to get him to contradict Gannon. I want to be very clear. That was not my goal with that question. The reason I asked that question is because if he said, yeah, absolutely, there's people distracting me all day, I think it brings a talking point just because it'd be multiple people saying it. An individual who loses, I'm not discrediting Gannon, but he's looking at through a microscope of what caused me to miss that putt. As opposed to like through the course of a tournament saying this tournament, seemed to be really distracting. So
it's also a player by player kind of thing. For me, I obviously play a lot more local tournaments nowadays. And for me, if there is consistent movement or consistent chat or consistent music, like far off in a park or something like that, I don't mind it. For me, it's when something happens sudden. So let's say I'm like a train horn or a car horn or something like that. Just something that happens in the backswing or putting. That's when it screws me up. But if there's something consistent going on, I don't mind it. That's me personally. For Gannon, if there are people consistently moving, it's really funny too, because my buddy Seth texted me about this and he goes, bro, he rushed it. And I was just like, Gannon rushed a shot? This is the dude who, like, we've called out 10 times for taking a minute plus on some shots. And he rushed a 20-footer that would have pushed it. I mean, it's just, you know, to each their own. And I think players have legitimate excuses on why something goes wrong. They're in a much different position than we are. We get to see it from the sidelines and say, oh yeah, that wouldn't have messed me up if I was in that position, but something else might mess you up in that position. So it's kind of like,
absolutely,
you know, granted, I mean, if a player's going out and making 50 excuses every single tournament, then yeah, we're talking about something completely different. Yep. But, you know, he rushed it. I would say realistically, he rushed it, and he missed a putt that you would think Gannon would make 99% of the time. And this is literally the 1% that he didn't make it. And it is what it is.
At least he didn't air it.
Career ending.
He didn't air it. He did one of those toilet bowl rim deals. But again, I was asking the question because I wanted multiple perspectives. So we understand. I just wanted to see from his perspective if he was like, man, absolutely, it was horrible. I think that'd be a talking point because I know the Pro Tour tries to do the very best they can with that stuff. Anyways, so Andrew apologizes via text message for the cold that is kicking his butt. So we understand.
Tell him,
obviously,
no issues whatsoever. Absolutely. We'd love to have him on the show again. Please, people, go out and buy some awesome Discraft discs, especially with Andrew Presnell's name on them. Ledgestone has a billion things to shop. Go check them out and help them out. It's awesome to see someone new win.
While you're on Ledgestone looking at Andrew Presnell's sweet minimalistic stamp or Rocket League stamp, we do have some Statmando ringers that are on there.
Look at that. Way to slide right in. And while you're on, I'll go ahead.
Yeah. And we haven't talked about it much yet, but we'll talk about Ledgestone later this show and give our picks and whatnot. But the disc we have on there, the Statmando ringer, is a Northwood Black specialty disc that highlights how hard that course is, the hardest course on tour for elite and majors for MPO. So very cool. The stamp is phenomenal. So even if you don't care about Northwood Black or the stats around it, I think the stamp's super cool. And if you don't know what a ringer is, I call it like a little bit more AM friendly zone. Not that a zone's not like AMs can't throw zones. I throw a zone and I'm an AM, but it's a little bit of a straighter, but still has that little bit of overstability. A lot of fun to throw. So if you haven't thrown it before, try it out. I highly recommend it.
For sure. So we've got Corey Ellis lined up here in the next minute. And again, fun show so far. We still have a lot to talk about, so stick around because I think when we get to the rules talk, it's going to be pretty. Rules talk can be super boring, but these proposals are really interesting. Not a lot to the rules of disc golf, but how competition specifically is affected with these rule proposals. But without further ado, at this point, let's go ahead and bring in major winner, one time right now, Corey Ellis. Welcome to the show, Corey. We're excited to have you. We tried to get you on last week, but you were literally landing in New York. Like, you're on the plane and you're like, it won't work. You line up all these other shows. You've said a lot. And I don't know if you're already like, dude, I've said so much, but we wanted our listeners to hear it. And we thought maybe you thought up some new things since then. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Absolutely great. Are you already at Peoria?
Yep, I've got 3 rounds in already. We got here yesterday, and the Northwoods is looking a lot better. It's like the brush has been pushed back a lot, and it's looking pretty good.
Wow. How do you rate Northwoods Black in your kind of great courses or horrible courses on tour? How do you rate it?
I like the course. I don't think it's fantastic.
Okay.
But it's fun to play, you know.
Yeah.
If you're getting off the tee, that is. If you're not getting off the tee, it's not going to be fun.
I was going to say, curiosity, what don't you like about that course?
Overall, it's just it can be grueling sometimes. You know, just if you're a little off, it can really punish you, and not as much as it used to now. But it's it's just hard, man. You got like the main thing is getting off the tee, really. I mean, if you do not get off the tee, you are completely screwed on that course.
Yeah. Well, let's bring it to a happier note. One-time major winner, European Open. How does that feel when you hear that you're a one-time major winner right now? What is that feeling a week later?
It's like about time, you know.
Yeah,
I've always known I've had it in me. It's just what a way to get the first big one, you know. Like a major is pretty incredible. And
pretty insane.
It's just a amazing feeling, man.
And you're able to celebrate that with the best players in the world. Your wife was there as well. I just saw an Instagram post. You came straight back to the States. It went right up to Michigan to the Discraft Factory. We'll let you talk about the disc later. But, man, major winner. Talk to us about the tournament in and of itself. What clicked with this tournament where you're able to take out the win?
I think the course has a really good mix of some woods and some open shots. And I think just sticking to my game plan is what helped me be so successful at that course, and not really changing anything once I got it all dialed in. There was even like a couple of holes where I was throwing a backhand and decided to throw a forehand, like the last practice round. And then I just committed to it no matter what the entire time. There was a round 2 and 3 on hole 2. I like turfed my drive like 6 feet in front of the FPO pad, and still got up and down for par. But then the last round, I threw the drive and chained out, and like ended up parring that hole every time. And I felt like that was one that I should get at least 50% of the time. You know, it's not that hard of a shot. You just hang a forehand out there and you get it, and you have a putt. And most of the time, you're gonna, you know, have a good look at it. But anyway, the course is sick, all but hole 11. I think there's too much luck involved in that. Other than that, like, the course is fantastic besides the walks in between holes. That's the only complaint. And you can't really do anything about it because it's like, you know, it is what it is. Like, they did great with what land they had.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to refresh your camera real quick. I'm going to see what I can do for data here. But what was going on in your emotions, mental game or whatever? We're fast forwarding way towards the end here. When Anthony Barella missed the island a handful of times, are you like, oh, calm my heart? Were you not even in the moment? Or were you just focused on yours? What was going on while that happened?
Well, I was kind of zoned out because, well, let's go back to the tee pad before that happens. He has the box, and he throws a shot, and it almost goes OB off the tee. And I'm just thinking, you have to get your drive closer than him to put the pressure on him to get on the island. And because I was like, this is the time. Like, you're gonna play this for birdie. Like, you laid up the other rounds. Now is the time to play for birdie. So I managed to get my drive in front of me, and Kyle threw before AB and stuck the island. And then as AB's throwing those shots, I was kind of like blacked out for the first couple. And then I realized, like, oh crap, like he's throwing again, and he missed. And then I think the third time when he missed is when I went back and looked at the scores to see who all else was like close. And I saw if I laid up and got a par, like that would tie me and Kyle because he's obviously going to birdie. So I was like, okay, well, now is the time. Like, you can't lay up, like you're going to play for birdie. And it's so crazy to say. I've said this before. And when I think back about it, I didn't feel any pressure, like, on that upshot. As much pressure as there obviously was to stick the green, in the moment, I didn't feel like nervous or anything. I just knew I could throw a 280-foot hyzer with a zone.
Can you explain that? Why you didn't feel nervous? Because I'm going, man, that's a great a fantastic thing. Tell us how that happens.
I don't know, honestly, because I've never experienced that. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like I focused on controlling my breathing, and in the off season, I was staying with Rick for a couple weeks, and he actually had a guy come over who's into sports, like meditation for athletes, and he explained some methods, and I kind of did that before the final round started, but like while we were, we had like a weather delay and all that, and I was just doing that, and I think that really played a factor in controlling my heart rate throughout the round and just staying calm.
Wow. Any quick tips? Like quick tips for meditation? I mean, I know I've heard like box breathing, all these different things, but like, is this a whole mindset? You said going into that last round. I mean, are you taking 10 or 15 minutes, or is it just a mental process, like during warm-ups? Like, what is it?
It was basically I just sat in a chair, and you have to sit up with your legs like not 90 degrees, but like where you're having blood flow, and you do, I think it's 8 seconds inhale through your nose, or I'm sorry, 4 seconds inhale as deep as you can, hold it for 8 seconds, and then you release it through your mouth for 7 seconds.
Okay.
But while you're doing that, you have to only focus on your breathing, not let any other thoughts come into your mind. And if you can do it closing your eyes, or you just stare at a spot on the floor or wherever, and you just focus on, and you do that for, a few minutes or however long you want to do it, I guess.
Wow.
And it's kind of dramatic how it affects your heart.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty transparent over the years with, I guess we're in our 3rd year now. I've gotten a lot better with it, but anxiety and anxious feelings, and being able to utilize breathing physiologically to take it from what your brain is thinking is the fight or flight feeling of like, this is bad for me, and kind of turning it to, no, this is okay. And so that's what I hear you talking about. And I think it did wonders for you. And I've heard other players talk about that, but to be able to go into that round and be able to say to us, I didn't have that strong feeling of nerves there. And it was spectacular, because you could replay this event so many ways, and media can think this out, and you actually did it. But to have AB throw that, and then you choose, let's say, to lay up, and then you miss, and then like you did exactly what you needed to do, and you put the gas on when it was possible that you might have been able to kind of try not to. So like, fantastic finish, epic and amazing. It was the European Open in front of a crowd of that size. That will stick with you. I mean, a major win forever, but does the crowd size stick with you? Is it burned in your head?
I mean, for sure. Like, and not only how big the crowd was, but how well-mannered they were. Like, UC would get up when we were on the tee pad, and he'd be like, quiet, and everyone would just freeze. Even like the kids. It was awesome to see. Like, really, it's just the culture over there. They're all so nice and really genuine people, and it's just refreshing to see.
Awesome. So
I have kind of go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nick.
All right.
We can go back and forth here.
This is kind of a question for Corey and Statmando, in the sense of, Corey, do you know where you were sitting after round 1? What place you were in?
Like 30 something, I think.
Tied for 33rd place. And Evan, I don't know if this is something you know off the top of your head, or you can check it out. What is kind of the lowest place someone has been after round 1 and then ultimately went on to win a major? And
Man,
the kind of...
Are you kidding me right now? That was the stat or fiction last week.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I don't even remember it now.
Yeah, it was the second.
It's been a long week.
It was the second lowest placing after round 1.
Okay.
To then go on to win a major. And I think the best was 35th. So it was only a couple places lower. And it was a Worlds in the 80s, I believe.
Gotcha.
So
it's all coming back to me now. Totally.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Definitely.
The stat or fiction was that it's the I would say the biggest comeback. I would have to pull it right now if
wait, was that in the 90s this happened, or 80s, we said, Evan?
I think it was 80s now that, like, was it 86?
It might
because
be
that
86
wasn't
worlds.
that
Oh, Duvall.
wasn't that
86 worlds? That's Johnny size.
Was it Duvall?
I think
Johnny
it was Duvall, so that was 84.
Was it 84?
No,
I think I
it
might
was
have guessed
85.
86.
I think we said it was my birth year, 85.
I'm pulling up last week's stat or fiction, so if we
All
just
right,
hold
let's
tight,
get, anyways,
find it.
I'll go back with Corey. You figure that out, Evan. I'll get back to Corey. And so, Corey, kind of getting on that, you were 6 strokes out of the lead to Kyle Klein. You ended up beating Kyle, I think, by 8 the next round. So you put yourself right back into contention. What were your thoughts after round 1? And I think this is huge for any local professional or local amateur player, in the sense of never giving up. Anything is possible. Can you kind of talk to us about your mindset after round 1, where you were sitting, and what were you thinking about rounds 2, 3, and 4?
I mean, the goal is always bogey free.
Mm-hmm.
Always. No matter what course you're playing, that's the goal. And that's all I thought about, was just like, stay clean off the tee and make your putts, and you'll see what happens. I try not to look too far into the future. The biggest thing I've learned over the years, 2 things. One is never give up, just like you said. The other thing is try everything you can do to focus on the shot that's in front of you, because that is the only shot that you can control. You can't control the past, and you can't predict the future. The only one you can try to control is the one you have in front of you.
Everybody, write that down. Listen to that. That was picture perfect. Corey,
from a guy who won a major after being 30-something place, like we tell intern Ben all the time, like, this shot, what just happened, you're upset about it, but you got to move on. Like, you have no control of that now. So that's an excellent insight.
I want to bring up kind of, it was really cool to see, and I know Hannah had posted about it, the Pro Tour had posted about it, but they showcased you in your moments of, let's call them failures. And one of them was being at MVP Open. You sat in that room, the scorecard room, with your head down. You were bummed about how that event finished. And then they said, so we can celebrate you in these kind of moments. And I'm paraphrasing it / getting it wrong, but then they showcased you winning your first major. Talk to us a little bit about last season. You came so close to winning a couple Elite Series events, and then having the heart to keep going on with it. What I don't know, I guess, kind of, what has your mentality been since those events?
I mean, I think I can win any event I go to. That's how I feel. I wouldn't play if I didn't think I could win, because what's the point? So I think last year it took those tough losses for me to be able to handle the pressure in that situation to win this. And if you went back and told me, hey, you're going to come close and lose by a stroke or in a playoff twice, and even once this year, I know I only lost by a stroke, I think, at Portland. And if you told me that that's what's going to take, but you're going to win this major, I would take that every time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. We've interviewed you before. This isn't your first time. We knew that, listen to us, I'm like tooting our horn. We knew there was greatness there. I mean, fantastic skill set, of course. And I think when we did our interview, I mean, people can go back and check it out. I don't remember what episode it is. I should have researched that, but type in Corey Ellis, Nick and Matt show. This will pop up in the other one. You talked about different things, and I'll leave it kind of generic here, but you talked about your journey in life. You talked about all the changes you had made through the way you were living. And you talked about, inspirationally, the support from, I don't know if it was your fiance, I think it was your fiance then, now wife, right? How supportive she was of all of these changes, the life you were trying to push towards, the positivity. Does all of that come into your mind as saying that was all necessary to get where you are now?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. It's been a long ride, and it's, only just begun. I feel like I can still compete for at least 10 more years, and then we'll move on to Masters, and I'm sure that'll be huge at that point. I'm 29 years old. I'll be 30 in December. So, I was the oldest person on that card.
Wow.
Also. Yeah. that was pretty crazy to me. I was like, wow, I'm the oldest guy by like 3 years at least. And it's crazy to think. I remember I played with Paul the first time in 2014, and he was the oldest person on the card at the time, and he was blown away by that. It was like me, Drew Gibson, Austin Path, and Paul at the Brent Hamrick Memorial, and he was like, I'm like, how am I the oldest person here? And it's just crazy to think now, like, you have kids like Gannon, and I played with a kid, Halmar, and he's only 16, and that kid just kept blowing me away. Like, he aced hole 2. He was just canning putts fearlessly. It's just insane to see the talent that's coming up, and also scary. You know what I mean? Like, where is the sport going to be in another 10 years? You know, are kids going to be throwing 650? Like, is that going to be the standard, or what's going to happen? You know, like,
oh man.
Yeah, like
it's
going to be fun to watch, and I'm glad to be a piece of history.
Yeah, and so you're a piece of history for more obvious reasons than just this major win, but this major win is a huge catalyst towards, I'm sure, bigger, greater things. So I'll put you on the spot, but what does it take to land a huge contract after one major win? Is that enough? Do you start negotiations? Like, where are you at with that? I mean, we see disc golfers are able to make good contracts now. I mean, one major win, what are you doing with that?
I mean, it all comes down when you're talking contracts like that, it comes down to how well you sell discs and merch. So it depends on, you know, how big my following gets, and if I get, you know, 1 or 2 or win the rest of the season, or as long as I play, you know, finish well throughout these events, I think that is what's going to be pushing my sales and able to get me a bigger contract. And and I have signed a 2-year contract on the elite team, with this being the first year of that contract.
Okay.
So,
well, this is yeah.
I did talk to Bob, and we said, you know, if things get better, you know, let's say I win Worlds or something, obviously we could renegotiate. So it all depends on sales, though.
Yeah, fantastic to hear that. And I'm sure sales are a high percentage tied towards how you're performing. Absolutely. Like you said, if you kept winning out, you're going to be an exciting player and people want to buy it. But this is a great start, man, as far as wins go, to get the major under your belt in such an awesome way. And overseas, probably there's a lot of memories tied to that. Your wife being out there and everything included. That's just fantastic.
I think really quick, Matt, that is kind of an absolutely perfect segue into the people listening to our show, either live in chat or in our post-production on all the favorite podcast platforms out there. You had an Instagram story today with Discraft. Can you tell us about that and commemorative disc? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I'm going to have a commemorative Z metallic zone. And yeah, I chose that disc because it's the one I threw to stick the island. I had zero doubts that it was going to hyzer and, you know, not going to skip out or nothing crazy was going to happen. And it's also the shot I threw off of hole 1 every round. Even though I didn't throw that shot the best, I threw it great in practice a lot, and I got birdie 3 out of 4 rounds. So
there you go. Where can the people buy them?
They're going to be, I believe Bob said they're going to be available for wholesale. So they could be in your local store if people buy them. So
all right.
We just need local shops to buy them up, and everybody can get their hands on them, as well as teamdiscraft.com on the Corey Ellis section. They will be available on there.
Fantastic. Yeah. So we have an audience that listens. You're on other podcast platforms. The media presence that you've had over the last week and a half now, or whatever it's been, and obviously before that as well, with all of your close finishes and just the skills that you bring to the course. But hopefully you speak about how well things can sell and how they move them. Your skill is good enough. Let's get Corey this contract. Everyone go out and support it. Buy these discs. That'll be pretty cool.
I appreciate that, man. That really means a lot.
Yeah, and when you come back, the end either you renegotiate into some blockbuster deal, or it come back in 2 years and you re-sign, or you go somewhere else. We'll do the exclusive. We did it for Simon. We'll do it for you too.
All right. That sounds great.
Before we let Corey go, I'll answer that stat. It was 1985 Worlds with Harold Duvall winning it. He was in 35th place after round 1, although only 4 strokes back, and it was a 6-round tournament. I did a quick lookup for just 4-round tournaments, 4 or less. I mean, we have a few, or for majors, 4-round or less majors. And that means it's the furthest back anyone's come after round 1. It's the third, or tied for the third biggest stroke comeback from round 1. You were 6 strokes back to Kyle Klein after round 1. In 2014 USDGC, Will Schustrick was 9 strokes back of Paul Macbeth. Ultimately won that throughout the 4 rounds. But very cool.
Dang,
dude, that's awesome. That's a crazy stat to have.
Yeah. Statmando is so cool, and to have him as part of our show every week, that's spectacular. All right. Did we miss anything, Corey, that you feel like is worth shouting out? I know you've been on, like I said, a bunch of others here. Is there anything that you look back in hindsight and say, I wish I said or mentioned, or the floor is yours if you want it?
I just want to thank you guys for inviting me on your show, and for everyone for all the messages and all the love and support and kind words and congratulations, and anyone that's bought a disc or even came up to me and had me sign a disc. I will sign whatever disc you want. It doesn't matter whether it's Discraft or not. I've had people come up and be like, oh, you're gonna have him sign that? Like, I don't care, man. I'm just happy to sign a disc, because I was at one point that little kid that came up to King Climo and wanted an autograph. So wow. I will forever remember all those kids in Finland and just how excited they were to see everybody, and just yelling out Ricky and Paul and my name, and just like it's their last time they may ever see him. You know, they don't know when they're going to get another chance to get that autograph, and it warms my heart to see the kids love it so much.
There you go.
Very inspirational. The chat absolutely loved this. They actually got, this is really funny, because usually a chat gets really active for excitement, but sometimes it's for the wrong reasons. Tonight, they kind of tapered off as you came on, but the view count increased. I think they were really drawn into what you had to say. So I really appreciate you coming on. I think we'll probably see you for sure at MVP Open in our neck of the woods. We'll come up and say hi, obviously, and we'll catch up. But good luck out there. Hope your practice rounds are going to go well the rest of the week. And maybe, if you don't mind and you win, we'll reach out again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Corey. Have
Good
a
luck,
great
Corey.
evening.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right. Peace out.
Go shop teamdiscraft.com and then look up the Corey Ellis page. Corey has one of the cleanest looking logos in the game. I think there's just a lot of cool things about it, and he's just an all-around awesome dude. So anyways, go check it out.
Watching him throw a disc is just like it looks so good. You know, it's
wild.
You know, like there are certain people where you're like, that's the purest form, and I'm not saying his form is incredible still, but it just like it has this feeling when it comes out. You're just like, like that's how like I want to throw. Like it looks so cool.
It's a lifelong journey for me to try.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it better than that, so I'm sorry. But if you know what I'm talking about,
he stands still as a putter better than most people in the world, I would assume. So
yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Yeah. We rewatched my kids were rewatching like highlights from, I just think it was Disc Golf Pro Tour highlights. It was on DGN, and I came up and it was like Corey Ellis coming through Maple Hill, and it was playing it out like all the highlights, but it felt like I was reliving it again. And it was just like epic. I honestly forgot. Like they keep showing the shot where he threw it OB on the green, and then more or less they're like, and that was it. And they show him like all sad. But I almost forgot. Like he actually stood up to putt to maybe tie it, and it was like I was there. It was epically close. This guy grinded, and he achieved. Go back and listen to that episode, guys, with him, Corey Ellis, because I was alluding to it. I didn't want to put him on the spot if he wasn't wanting to talk more about it, but it's recorded on the internet. What he was doing in his life to get to this point, and I think it was really special. All right, Well, with that being said, let's move over into our next topic, which is going to be about the official, competition guide, I guess is how you'll put it, for the PDGA competition. There's some interesting things in here. I don't know how far we'll get through them. Some people are like, all right, I'm tuning out now, it's the rules. But let's just start with this. Let me pique your attention because this is kind of related to Pro Tour, but it's also related to us because it's competition. Specifically to the fact that everybody needs to keep score now, okay? Scoring. All players will now be required to keep score for the whole group. And if I was just to say that one sentence, that's the summarization of this rule. What do you think about that? Now, it's not specific that it's got to be PDGA Live. It's not specific that it has to be paper. It just says everybody in the group now has to keep score for the entire group. I have questions about it, but generally speaking, I'm okay with it. I'm not saying it's innovative and like absolutely necessary, but I'm okay with it. What's your feelings?
I mean, I would always keep score for whatever group I'm in, no matter what. And I mean, I can think back to my last tournament round where I was having a ton of fun on a card with you, Matt, and Ben. And I was like a little bit busy and was hoping other people would keep score, and no one was really up for it. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll keep score.
I can't believe you did that either. I was like, you're like, do you have the app? I'm like, no. You're like, okay, I'll do it.
No one had the app. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. I like keeping score in a general sense. So I would always do it anyways. But I'm almost kind of glad other people are, so I don't have to like awkwardly agree to do it. And so, yeah, I think it's great. I gotta be honest. Well, again, all these rules are up for what's the best?
They're
way to
being
word this?
proposed as rule changes. Yeah, proposed.
Exactly.
You can reach back and provide your feedback.
Nothing's set yet, but it's kind of like pretty much if not everyone hates this, or if we don't reconsider it, this is going to be a rule. So it's a high likelihood or a over 50% chance. I don't know how to word that best. But I could see this being a rule that maybe isn't truly enforced. You know, if we have two people, oh, my phone's dead and I didn't grab a paper one,
then you get a stroke penalty, I think.
Like, are people going to be like, are people really going to give them a stroke? Like, I don't know. I do question it, but I do think it's a good rule.
You can designate it to your caddy.
And I want to add one other point is for majors and elite series events where PDGA Live is the official scoring. It is requiring somebody on the group to at least use PDGA Live. So not that everyone has to do it. And for you, the listener, your you're not casual round, but your amateur or lower pro tournament, you're not going to be required to use PDGA Live. But at the pro level, it is, which I think is great because I use PDGA Live for following the Disc Golf Pro Tour because it loads so fast and is easy to use, and I prefer it as my way to follow scores. So I'm glad that every group is required to do it.
Let me ask the question, Nick. You step up to a tournament round. I feel like I know Nick well enough. I know what his answer is going to be. We should mute his ears so then I can say, and then we'll see if he answers this way. But like, it comes up, who wants to keep score? Oh, he actually pulled out his earbuds. So I think he's going to say, oh, I don't matter. I don't mind too much. I'll do it if I have to. You know, it's not a big deal. Okay. Come on back, Nick. I was just kind of guessing a little bit how you might answer. But like, so someone goes, Nick, hey, they don't specifically say Nick, but it comes up in the group before you tee off, like, who's going to keep score? Like, are you someone who kind of like turns away and is like, do, or like, how do you feel about that?
No, I actually don't mind keeping score. Okay. I actually, and there's a few reasons why. One, because if there's a backup, I usually use my phone for something. I'll read text messages or whatever. So I don't mind being on my phone during rounds. I'm not obnoxious with it at all. But also, I do like on PDGA Live when you're keeping score and you hit the live button to see what everyone else is at, it updates automatically. There's no delay or anything like that. And so I really like, if I'm curious of what other people are shooting that round, it's the best up-to-date kind of live scoring that we have at local tournaments. So I don't, when I used to play Pro Tour events, I've done UDisc before, especially when players were required to do it. And I have done it a couple times since volunteers are supposed to be able to do it. And the main reason is usually there's been someone on the card who has no idea how to use it, like the volunteer. And so I've taken over before because it gets in your head when, like, I remember. No, I realistically, I don't mind it. I think it's really stupid if all four people have to do it. I think that's really dumb because I think there are a lot of people who absolutely hate having their phone on them during tournaments. And I think Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is a paper,
that's the kind of conversation to where
UDisc.
now, okay, so now every single tournament director has to provide paper scorecards.
I think
which,
they've had to
if that's
do
the
that.
case,
They've already.
If that's the case, then great. The tournament that I was just at, they had paper scorecards. Unless two people were doing it on their phone, you didn't have to use a paper one. But if like I played a tournament with Andrew Fish a couple weeks ago, and I took score in the PDGA Live app, and he took score on a paper scorecard. And some players are fine with that. I think that's totally cool. I think it's really dumb that all 4 people have to do it. I think, yeah, and a player who refuses to keep score may be subject to disqualification. Dude, that's it's a little extreme in my eyes, to be honest. I think that's pretty dumb. But look, if the rule's there, the rule's there.
Now,
it is what it is.
I'm asking a question that
really
I'm asking a sincere question. It may be very obvious. The PGA, each player tracks their score and not their competitors. It's just their own, or do they also check the competitors? Do we know that? Anybody in the chat?
I've heard this.
Tell you.
I've heard this in a general sense, but I don't know it directly. But I believe what I heard is you keep score for yourself and one other person on your card. So like if it was us 4, me, Nick, Matt, and Ben, I might keep track of my own score and Ben's score. Ben would keep track of his own score and Nick's. Nick's would do his and Matt's, and Matt would do his and mine. So that way there's one backup per person, plus you're keeping your own. Something like that. So I don't think it's like if you have a foursome, I don't think you're keeping track of all 4, but there's at least everyone has some sort of backup and everyone is keeping score. That could be wildly off. So I'm sorry if it is, but that's my understanding.
So we'll see if the chat comes in to help us out here. Brody Smith is listening. Sometimes he wants to fill us in on the golf info. He is experienced with it, so it'd be fair to hear.
I will say one more thing to do with this or related to this is if somebody else gives you a wrong score, you're not penalized unless your own scorecard is it. So if I
which
hole 18 was weird, and Matt, you were keeping the maybe you were the first person to do it, and in an old world you would have been the official scorekeeper. If you gave me a 3,
yes,
but I got a 2, and I wrote down 2 for myself, and we both submitted, even though there's a discrepancy, I wouldn't be penalized because you had the wrong score. But if before this change, if only you were keeping a score, and you just go and submit it and don't even ask me or talk to me, I could get a 2-stroke penalty. I forget how that works because technically you're supposed to confirm with other players.
Yes,
so there's a lot of
little
parts,
gray loopholes here for sure.
I think what this does is it does start to eliminate those loopholes. And again, like if you haven't used PDG Live, it is such an easy system to use. It does such a good job checking to see if you have a score discrepancy. Like I can't recommend it enough. Like I just think they've done a good job. It's so fast, it's quick. I use it where it's bad service and it still works.
It's fine.
And
you want to know what sucks about PDGA Live scoring though?
Playoffs, yes, we know.
No freaking playoffs, dude, and it is so annoying. Let me bring this back. So we got a lot more rules to do, but the funny part I'm laughing about is PGA. How many people are on their cards usually at these events? 1. It's a twosome, so it's pretty funny.
Well, it's a 3-sum before the cut, and then it's 2 sums after. But I also don't know if that's not just the tour level, but there's the whole national events. And if I played a tournament as a handicap of however high you can go, played a tournament, would I be playing on a 4-sum or a 3-sum or 2-sum? I have no clue. I would maybe guess a 3 or 4.
I have 2 stories, and that sounds like it could be a long night, but it's not. One is at Junior Worlds. After the round, one of the rounds, standing at the scoring table with the officials that are there, hearing a junior competitor, their caddy, I think it was their mom or their dad, I forget, that maybe it was multiple times they came up, and the kid was being as respectful as possible, but he said his score was submitted wrong. He thought one of the players might have tried to do it intentionally. They were rude during the round kind of a thing, and they scored me wrong on purpose and submitted it, and the official said, "Did you verify the score?" And he said something like, "I verified it, but it didn't get changed," or something along those lines, and it got submitted. So he actually ended up getting the correct score +2 because he allowed it to get submitted, I guess. And I don't love that part of it, which is why I kind of feel like there's an interesting thing here. So the second story is recently a flex start that I played in. I step up to the hole and someone says, or the TD's there, and he says like, "Hey, who's going to keep score?" And somebody just turns and goes, "Hey, I wasn't top on the card, like the score report." I'm thinking, first of all, score ports are kind of old school now. But he goes, I wasn't taught. I don't have to do it. And that just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, and the TD corrected him. It's everybody's responsibility. Like, nobody has to do it all, but like, that's not how it works. And I like that this takes away that feeling of who's going to do it and that it's arbitrary. It's literally decided in that moment. I've been in a round where 4 people, me included, didn't want to keep score. And we're all standing there. And the TD's like, who's going to do it? And it's kind of comes down to this, who's the last person to bow out and say, okay, fine, I'll do it because I care more about my relationship with the TD than I do, like, I like that fact and aspect of it. Now, we're talking all the way up to the pro level. I don't know that it even needs to happen it that way. Track your own score, maybe, not everybody's score. And then final thought here. Evan, you said this. If you submit a score wrong for somebody else, it doesn't affect them. Do I get penalized for submitting someone else's score wrong, though? You see what I'm saying? So, like, if I'm tracking everybody's scores, they don't get penalized if I submit their score wrong. But do I get penalized for submitting their score wrong?
Yeah, I'm going to try to, I understand what you're saying. I'm going to try to find it right here.
I couldn't tell, honestly. I know it says that player would be penalized.
So I'm going to read what it says right here, the whole thing, and we'll try to find it out together. But it says G2, if a player submits a scorecard where their total score or whole scores are incorrect, improperly recorded, or missing, 2 penalty throws are added to the correct total score. Those penalty throws are not added when the score has been adjusted for other violations, blah, blah, blah. That's not important. G3, a player is not penalized if another member of their group submits an incorrect scorecard.
Right, but it's hard to tell G2 if they're going to be penalized.
If a player submits, I think you have a good point. And this is something that might come up again. These rules are just proposals. Maybe this is something that'll get worded out.
You probably do get penalized. Because the reason being, then what would be the purpose? Then what would be the purpose of tracking their scores if it didn't matter if they were correct? Like, it'd be like, oh, screw it. Doesn't matter if they're correct. I'm not getting penalized. They're not getting penalized. Like, you're obviously going to get penalized, I think, if you submit their score wrong.
No, let's play this scenario right now. Let's do it the way it exists now. Okay. I'm the only one keeping score for our card of this show. Matt, I put you down as having a bogey 5 on a par 4 or something. I put you down as a 5 and you're like, no, I got a 4. I submit it. Who gets penalized? It's just you. I don't get penalized. And I'm like,
he did it. He ran away with the phone. He ran away with the phone and I couldn't stop him.
I don't get penalized for having your wrong score as it stands now. So I think that's going to stay. I think if this scenario exists where, now the new scenario, I would submit a 4 and you would also submit a scorecard that had a 4. And if we both submitted them somehow and the TD had a question about it and figured out which one it was, I think if it was a 4 and you were right, Matt, for your score, you would get that score and we would move on, no penalties. If I was correct and you did get a 5, but you submitted a 4, I think you would then get a 5 plus a 2-stroke penalty. You see what it's happening now? With this discrepancy, my score and my penalty is not up for question. I think the only way you could say is, hey, he's trying to give me the wrong score, and then it's some other kind of violation.
And it's a different disciplinary issue. I want to say clearly, I don't think that if this rule went through, I know Nick gave his opinion, he thinks it's dumb. I think it's not going to be a big deal. I said I don't mind it. It doesn't mean I love it, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. One last thought is that if players are forced to do this, some will really not have a phone. That will be the case. I think it will make it harder for the TDs because you're going to have paper submitted along with it. Then they're going to have to check the paper
every single
versus everybody else on that card. Because if that play comes in, Evan, where they're like, that score is wrong and they said they had this, like, now you get penalized.
Only when the score is wrong, though, because if I'm the only one doing digital and everyone else is doing paper, and I go to submit the digital and say, hey, is this good? Everyone's good. Everyone says, yeah, it's good. We move on. Nothing happens. It would only get questioned if a score was thought to be wrong. Like, I don't think you ever have. It never says anything about you have to count up the scores through other methods.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying?
It just has to be tracked. So that way, like, you could go back. But it does say every player has to submit it within 30 minutes of the end of their round.
Oh, shoot. You're right. Actually, that's a good call.
So it does have to be submitted. So then someone has to review everything and compare it against every single one. And then they go, there's an error. Scorecard. Now they have to figure out, bring the group over, which one's the error. That's going to be
good question.
Which will be the benefit of using PDGA Live is if, like this happened, the tournament that I was just at, we accidentally had 2 wrong scores for 2, like a player, like, you know, someone says, oh yeah, I got a 2 on that hole. The other person doing scores thought that person took a 3. And then right after I was like, oh, hey, we have a scoring discrepancy. What's going on? Like it tells you right then and there when 2 numbers don't match up. So that is the benefit. But I want to, Matt, you were saying earlier you played in a tournament. The 4 people didn't want to keep the score. Why don't you want to keep score? I'm just genuinely curious, because then you said, I won't mind it when this happens.
Yep. So no, I was saying I don't mind the rule. Like, I don't think it's an issue that the PDGA makes it a rule. That's separate from like if I like it or not. And I should have been more clear with that. I am 50-50 on keeping track of scores. This is a great case in point that some people made. They said, I'm sick and tired, and not in the chat right now, but I saw this online. I'm sick and tired of people being able to use the crutch of their mental game by not tracking their scores so that they can say, I don't have to know what my score is. Someone else can do that for me. And it's kind of like, well, hey, that seems like an unfair advantage. You should track your own score and have to deal with it, you know? So like part of my reasoning is that I sometimes am like, dude, my mental game, as good as I feel like it's become, I don't love adding that extra responsibility. Like, okay, I'm responsible for pulling out the score and asking. Sometimes I just want to be the one to give my score. So it's a 50-50 thing for me. But in those moments, it's probably because it was a 3-day tournament and I did it both rounds prior. And then Steve Dodge is like, who's doing it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Steve, every day you've given the scorecard to me. And he's like, oh, Matt, you're so awesome. I'm like, fine, I'll take it the 3rd day too. And everybody else on the card is like, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, why am I the one that has to do it? So I like that aspect of it just being not weird anymore if this rule goes through, and it's just everybody does it. But
I think kind of going to your situation, which it might change going into next year, we've always done it to where it was the top 2 people on the card. Like the events that I've played, A tiers, B tiers, it's always been, and this is the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, whatever, is if no one says, oh yeah, hey, I'll do it, it's always gone to, well, okay, then the two top people have to do it. And it is what it is. Like,
and that's 808A, which says the player listed first bears the primary responsibility for picking up the group scorecards. That is now crossed out, and it has the new text of each player must keep independent scorecards. Right. Blah blah blah. Not blah 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 like it's unimportant, but just
I think
no, it literally says blah blah blah.
The majority of people,
right.
the majority, like this is great banter back and forth. This is what is going to happen. You can provide your feedback to the PDGA, but I think if this rule went through, a large majority of people will track it on their phones. I actually think this would never happen. Ha ha ha. This is a super sarcastic joke, but eventually they might have devices they could hand out to players to track score specifically. Picture, it's more detailed than this, but picture the little restaurant buzzer you used to get. Like make it really simple, right? Like some device. But
that's funny.
That's a ways out. Exactly. They're not doing that now.
Here, I got one more, and then we'll end it on this really quick.
Yep.
Matt, at the end of your round, if you're not keeping score, when you check the scorecard to make sure your score is correct, do you replay every single hole in your head?
No, this is the point. I do keep track of my score, but I don't like being responsible as the person in the group for tracking scores.
But you have an idea to where, like, for
if
me,
it sounds right. If I go, I'm -2 in my head, and he goes -2, I go, yep. I don't even replay the holes. And it could be wrong, and I could get stroked. Absolutely.
That's right there. Like, that's why I don't mind keeping score, because I know for a fact I might accidentally get someone's score wrong on a hole. I might get someone's. The beauty of PDGA Lives, it tells you if, like, I might not have clicked the down button enough or the up button enough, whatever. But I do like knowing that my score is correct, and I think I'm a trustworthy person, and I think that I keep score pretty well. So I don't mind doing it for that specific reason. But also, when I look at someone else, because I don't keep score every single time, when someone does keep score for me, I have a pretty general idea, because I look at live scoring when I'm playing my round. And so I know, like, okay, I know I just birdied that hole. That put me from 2 down to 3 down. And I keep track of that throughout the round. But at the end of it, I do go through every single hole. And I'm like, yep, I took a 3 there. Yeah, I took a 4 there. Yeah, I took a 9 there. Yeah, I took a 1 there. You know what I mean? Like, I do look at those things.
I get that. I've done the 1
I went 9 to 1. Yeah. So
all right.
Anyways,
rule,
enough about that.
Scoring is what the chat's calling us out on. We appreciate those who stuck around to listen. Our viewer count has gone up. Hit the like button.
Yeah.
Speaking of pace of play, that'll come up at some point.
Okay.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Anyways,
this rule is great. Moving obstacles. We don't need to debate this one. It says now that you can move a casual obstacle if it is further away from the lie of like than the basket, right? So the basket line of play, your lie, as long as it is on your side, the throwing side of the lie, you can move it. Casual,
and this is
indefinitely left or right. Like if you feel like it's in your line of play for a run up or anything, you can move it. I feel like that is not gray. I think it's fantastic.
Yes, agreed. And that is not, I know you said now, that is something you cannot do that right now.
Right.
That is proposed for the 2024 season.
Do it and see who calls you on that. That's what I say.
Yep. I agree. Don't get me wrong.
Remember Casey White
just
at Champions Cup last year? He's like snow angel on the ground. He's like, my lie is really big.
Yeah. Anyways, so keep it going. But yes, if that changes back to the original, perfect. Great. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear on these rules. I mean, I think the rules do make it clear, but want to be extra clear that you cannot move anything in front of your lie. So in your follow through, let's say, that still has to stay the same and be unmoved.
Yeah,
until your lie is in front of it.
Great call. Okay, this one's interesting. Well, in a way, they're talking about player eligibility. They're making C tiers now that you need to be a member of the PDGA to play a C tier. This has been shifting a little bit. They did that, B tiers, C tiers, and then they said they created a new tier called D tier. But I want to throw in this little extra nugget that I discovered today through social media. Someone's been around playing disc golf for a while, said D tiers are not a new thing. And if you go on the PDGA and do event searching through the PDGA's website, you can filter by tiers. And if you look, there is D tier on there. And if you go back, it's from 2004 to about 2007. There were D tiers, and these D tiers were considered very intro events for those who didn't want to pay even that whatever the extra sanctioning was for the C tiers at the time. So like they're writing as if it's new because it's so new in a lot of ways. It's how many years? 16 years later or something. But the purpose of this D tier is to take things that are, I don't want to say unusual, but different. How do they call it here? I think my idea is like, okay, a flex start or some other special event that is not your normal, typical 2-round, 1-day event. They're saying D tiers are going to be a 1-round, 1 day. That's a flex start. That's your leagues. That's things like that are not your normal tournament play. And normal being, again, two rounds, 1 day. I don't have an issue with this. A lot of people are balking. I'll get your feedback on the idea of like, hey, it's a cash grab. PDGA's forcing people to remember. Like, you don't have to play PDGA tournaments. Like, this is their organization. This is their business. That's kind of my stance on it. And if prior to this, you paid a $10 fee every time you played and weren't a member, which if you played 5 events or 4 events, you've already paid for your membership. So I don't see it as a big deal. I don't see it as limiting the sport. I think I actually see it important for the sport. Events for a while were so filled up. And then what about the benefits of the PDGA member? Like, I can't play a PDGA event and 60 of the people were non-PDGA members. It's like, anyways, I have a lot more to say about it, but D tiers I think are going to be okay. Evan or Nick, what do you think?
I think I agree pretty similar with you, Matt. I think my stance has followed the same. When they first brought in the kind of the B tier rule or A tier rule, I forget how it used to be. I was like, ooh, that seems really tough. That's going to be hard to get everyone to sign up. You're going to lose potential people, even though there's still a lot of people who do want to play. But I think I have switched around to, I do think it's a good move. Even flex starts that I play now, I look through the registration and over 90% of people are members. I don't think it's necessarily pushing people to be members, but it's pushing the organization of it. So I think this new tier of D tiers is also really good. Assuming that it's the same historical version you're getting at, I think there needs to be more events that are just 1 round, really, really cheap entry. I think I love like a $5 to $10 to $15 tournament where it's just like, hey, let's like learn how a disc golf tournament is organized. And that's all it is. You just go and you play with people, and it's essentially what a league is, but a little bit more structured, a 1-day event. You can kind of be a little bit more learning day. I mean, especially like you have like women or junior only events where there's a lot of non-members who want to play. So I think this is a perfect way to do that. So I would love if this change also goes with a huge push to have more of these new D tier type tournaments.
And it's funny, I joked earlier on, D tier, some are going to say it deters. I'm like, that's a different way to pronounce it. I don't think it does. Nick, any reaction to D tier? Are you going to be hitting up the D tier tour? Whoa, say that 3 times.
I mean, look, if I have time to play a Flex Start tournament, I will happily play a Flex Start tournament. I've gotten to a point where I just like playing disc golf, and I like to potentially get a win.
Finally got to a point.
So, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think for me personally, it's if you're playing a Flex Start, like Evan just said, so you kind of get the feel of what a tournament's like. And I'm just curious, like, what else are you playing a Flex Start for? If you're not a PDGA member, you're not playing for a rating. And
you just want to put yourself against other competitors. Yeah. But my point was you don't need a PDGA event to do that. Let the PDGA players do that.
I don't know if you guys know this answer, but if I'm playing a D tier tournament or just a C tier Flex Start, whatever, and I'm not a member of the PDGA and I win that as a pro, I can accept cash still, right? Like I get the cash from the tournament. Okay, so I guess realistically, if you want to play in the pro division for it, then you can still make
in D tier, in a D tier.
But yeah, in a D tier, yeah. I know. Look, all D tiers do is now I'll have to go to Discraft and say, "Hey, what's my bonus for potentially winning a D tier?" You know, that's that's the only thing that it does for me, to be honest. Is
okay.
You know, I gotta try to renegotiate my contract now.
That's funny. All right, moving on. And intern Ben's here, so we're gonna bring him in on this one. Yeah. This rule, we're jumping over some of them. You're going to check it all out. I'm not reading you the whole book tonight, but pace of play. It says the addition codifies the concept of putting a group, quote, on the clock. This defines what they're going to define what being on the clock means. And ultimately what it means is, Ben, and I want your opinion.
Okay.
Is that somebody has either made a warning or an official has observed that things are taking longer. And we've seen this last year, right? That actually came up. Jeff Spring went and talked to the tour group. I think it was at wasn't it the chase card at the Pro Tour finale 2 years ago? Or maybe it was even last year. But he went up to Gannon Burr's card and and someone else. And he was like, hey, you guys, your pace is like, you're whatever, we're gonna call you, kind of a thing. Anyways, this has happened, but there's no official rule for it, Ben.
Yep.
This rule now says that an official can come up and say, you're on the clock. And ultimately that means they're timing every player on that card and they're watching until they feel like it's been restored to a good pace. Then they'll say, you're off the clock. Does it sound like a good rule to you?
I think it sounds like a fine rule. I don't think it's ever going to be enforced. You know, the 30-second rule's never enforced other than Nicola Castro last year. That's the only time I've pretty much ever seen it. But yeah, I think it's a fine rule, but what's taking too long? Like, you know, if you're playing hole 12 Northwoods Black, it's going to be a lot longer than playing hole 1 Reds at Maple Hill. So it's like,
so pace of play,
discretionary.
Pace of play usually is monitored by keeping up with the group in front of you.
Okay.
It's not necessarily by staying ahead of the group behind you.
It's not time.
Right.
Okay.
However, if there's something that is causing you to delay a little bit more, there's rules in here you're going to want to read. But if it is, as long as the group behind you is not catching up, they're probably not going to push you too hard. But the goal is usually to keep pace with the group in front of you.
This is more for, I take this rule more for like Pro Tour where there's like 6 backups on a hole. I don't think this is going to affect AMs. I think it's going to be, Pro Tour. You know, that we see backups all the time where it's like 4 backups because they're the pros. They're going to take a while. They want to get their best shots. But that's the only time where I see it might be enforced.
And you mentioned Nico, and I'll pass this over to Nick and Evan, but you mentioned Nico, so I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
He's got a lot going on tonight, by the way.
Nico.
Just shout out to Nico. He's got a lot going on. That's an inside joke, guys. He was supposed to be on the show tonight. Anyways,
we'll get him on.
Yeah, that's all.
Soon.
Okay. Now I'm stumped. Oh, they actually went up to Nico's group. Chandler Kramer on there as well at last year's European Open. And they more or less told him they're on the clock, but without this rule being official. They did one of these like, hey, I'm here now to help monitor this. And then that all happened before Nico got called on it officially on live coverage. So like that actually did happen.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a rule at that point. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of just a gray area. What do you think, Evan or Nick, about this? Is this good for Pro Tour only mainly?
I mean, it's a rule for all, like it's a PDGA rule. So it is a rule for all things. It doesn't specifically designate major and elite series. I do see it mainly being known to be used on the Pro Tour level. But I could see, like, if I'm playing a local B tier and let's say I play with someone who was taking a long time, and maybe I gave them a warning or something in round 1, and then in round 2 they're on my card again, and maybe you just like tell the TD or something like, hey, this guy's been really slow, like if we do fall behind, like just like giving them a notification about potentially having a someone come watch, because at a normal tournament they're going to be at the tent and things are kind of beginning rotating around and things will generally be good. But if something's brought up, I could see this coming into play, and it's just a way that if it does happen, you can deal with it in an easier manner from an official. So I think it is a little bit more of a rare occurrence at that level. And I think we'll see it a lot more at the pro level, but I still think it is a good rule to have for all PDGA tiers and levels.
Yeah. And I was just looking, a whole group can receive time violation, like the whole group. It sounds to me like, and I don't know why, my parents weren't quite like this, but some parents were growing up like, you're all getting disciplined, right? Like, I don't care who did it. Like, you're all getting, you're like, come on. I can just imagine myself in the group. I'm like, I was trying to tell him to speed up. Like, it wasn't me, but no, you're getting it too. So I think I'm exaggerating how it's going to be, but I think having a rule in place is important for the times when you need it. I don't think it's going to be a regularly reoccurring thing. All right, Nick, what do you got?
I mean, realistically, sorry, I've kind of been chatting in the chat right now.
The groups.
Just talking about
is it nice to be able to have a group on the clock if there was a pace issue? I mean, I heard this last weekend, it was Gannon Burr and someone else, and they're like, holy cow, this is taking 40 minutes through the first 2 holes or something.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think everyone can agree, especially in the viewer aspect of watching the Disc Golf Network, is we're there to watch disc golf. We're not there to watch someone take 2 minutes to throw a shot or 1 minute and 30 seconds. And the YouTube chat screams about it when people are taking forever.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I would say that that's definitely beneficial. I'm curious to see what it'll be like at the lower tournaments where we don't have marshals. We have a TD, we have an assistant TD, and then we have the players on the card. That's realistically all you have to be the marshals on the course. I'll say this: I hate slow pace. Especially when it doesn't feel necessary. And I hate rangefinders because I think that's a huge part of it. And I hate carts because I also think that's a huge part of it. And those are just 2 things that I think slow down so much in disc golf that, it is what it is. But they're both allowed right now, and I can't complain about it. If you're within your 30-second parameter, then great. If you're not, then after a few times, I will say speed it up. And I have clocked people before because I hate feeling like my card is the one backing up the card behind me, or I hate being backed up by the card in front of me. And it's just, we all got to do it. Yep. So, but yeah, people bushnelling 36 footers to make sure they're inside or outside the circle or not. Or the thing about carts is if you're on a wooded course with a cart, you don't bring that cart into the thick of the woods. So they leave it on the fairway. And then they walk and they look at their lie, and then they assess what they're going to do, and then they walk back to their cart, and then they grab 3 discs, and then they go back to the lie. They assess it some more with those 3 discs.
Then they pick one back
golly, it is infuriating to me.
All right, moving on from infuriating, because this would happen in a pro division someday, and they're proposing to eliminate this. Moving on here to majors and elites, I believe is what I'm talking about. Majors and an elite series. You must have a minimum rating of 935 at the time of registration. And I think that is more than fair. Yeah, for MPO only. That is more than fair. I mean, I have no place playing an elite or major besides the fun of trying not to place last. And like, if you go much lower than that, depending where you start in the round, it's not fair to everybody else to have to play with my skill level. As like, average amateur I am, it's not fair to do on the pro level, and I think we need that's a fair rule. So there was another rule that's probably boring for everybody else, but I thought was really interesting. I don't know, I'll leave it to myself, but then people will wonder what it is. There was a rule I brought up at Junior Worlds after the player meeting. Of course, leave it to me to do that, but I had a question the previous year, and it's going to be hard to explain here, but you know how you can if you go OB, you have the ability to move back on the line of play as far as you would like, right? I mean, that's summarizing it. What happens when the line of play, you can't move back further because it is an OB line? So the OB line you'd have to imagine is at a angle, like a significant angle, and you are OB on it. I don't know how to explain it except to say that if moving your lie back into OB again, what do? Right? So they've made a rule now that allows you to move back on, I forget how they word it here, and I was trying to find it again. They allow you to move back on whatever the playing field is. So I'm going to have to look into this further, but more or less you could continue back on that OB line.
Even if it's going diagonal and
even
to
if it's
the right
going
or the left.
diagonal, yes, because you can't move backwards further into OB. So I think that's accurate, and that only came up because there's poison ivy and stinging nettles, and the way this OB played on one hole at Junior Worlds, I was like, you can't move. They said at this point, before the rule was in play, they said you either abandon your lie or you play in the stinging nettle and poison ivy. That was what we were told. So I think this rule will help satisfy that. Anyways, that was a fair, I mean, that was a bonus rule for you. So any other rule that I missed that you think would be fun to bring up right now? There's quite a few of them, but any others, Nick, Evan?
I want to bring up one that was a little bit of a hot topic recently because there was a certain A tier level event that was not wanting to offer FPO because I believe Natalie Ryan was interested or to pretty much stop her from playing because again, there's different sets of rules for majors and elite series or A tiers and below. So there is a rule consideration to make A tiers. If you have MPO, you need to have FPO, or if you're a pro tournament, you need to have both MPO and FPO. If you're an AM tournament, you need to have both MA1 and FA1. And it goes down to say like pro AMs need to have all four of those I just listed. Masters only needs to have the 40 division for both male and or mixed and female for both pro and AM, and then so I just you have a little bit more requirements. You need to offer the highest level at that classification for an A tier. And I think that's a good move in general. It's a situation you don't want to run into often. Luckily, we don't have a lot of cases, if many at all, that deal with a tournament being, hey, I want to be, a men's only tournament. It's MPO or nothing. If you're an A tier, you have to provide both, and I think that's a good move.
Sure. I realize for our listening audience, this may be one of the more boring, but the interviews are great. We gave you that on the front side. If you're here now, we're going to still try to talk out the last 10 minutes of more interesting things, but
look, I'm just curious if the PDGA can paint OB lines during the middle of a major. I'm just curious if that's changed.
It talks about
yet.
It talks about OB lines and stuff in here, but it's differences between hazard and OB if that spans that difference. So it goes from hazard to OB, like what side is out of bounds. It's all in here.
Look, I'm just curious if they can change the course and how many days in advance they need to have it.
This is the saltiest that Nick's been in a long time. This, the cards, the rangefinders, the pace of play. Goodness.
Dude, I'm just rough day today. Rough day today. I played mechanic all day today, and I hate playing mechanic, so I'm just in a foul mood.
This is Nick's theme song, apparently.
I guess so.
Oh, that's funny. So, anyways, you got to show up to your tee times at least 5 minutes before. If you don't, I think it's suspension from the round or whatever. So, like, there's a lot of rules. I think it's a misplay. Go check them out. Reminder of the 48-hour giveaway. If you've made it this far, we're pretty much starting, I already told you we're starting, but I wasn't looking, so it's not quite fair, but we'll lump everybody in. But it's kind of too late because the way this works is when I look at a certain hour in the next 48 hours, that's when somebody wins it. Again, what was the name? I want to pull it up. It was Alan Shorter. Reminder, reach out to us. And then the massive giveaway. We're so close, guys, and we're going to hit it either way this year, but we want to do this giveaway for MVP Open. It is a massive package, including the FPO division is back at this event. It's fantastic value. Again, $2,200 value. You will not miss out on anything. You got to be a subscriber of the show. Tag us. We're really close, so tag us in your social media. Let us know that you're interested in the giveaway, and we're watching, we're observing, we're taking notes. Who are these people? And you'll win a massive package. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What else is there to wrap out the show with? We don't have a stat game tonight.
Ledgestone insurance.
Picks.
We got to make some picks.
No insurance, just Ledgestone as of 2022. The tournament, that is. Obviously,
okay, well, the company is called Ledgestone Insurance, so I'll call it what I want.
A shop Ledgestone, like their disc golf side is its own brand.
It's just Ledgestone.
So they're just Ledgestone.
Right.
The tournament.
You're right, Evan. You know what? You're right. I won't be salty about Ledgestone
a lot of the
changing
time,
their
Nick,
name.
believe it or not, I can be wrong. That's not to say I'm 100% right. Just
we won't talk about how Stat or Fiction came to be when it came to Ledgestone. Actually,
that's funny. Yeah,
I'm not.
We won't talk about that though.
Anyone under the bus, but I am gonna joke with Steve. He was like, I'm getting this, something's funky with this query. He sends it over to me. He's like, it says someone won a ton of money at Ledgestone. And I'm like, dude, that's the same mistake I made. So good for him. He reviewed it before and knew that something was off, unlike me, who just was like, hey, Paul Macbeth, here's a stat about you. And it's wildly wrong.
Hey, really quick, before we get into Ledgestone picks, I actually do want to shout out DG Maxwax really quick. I actually just got my package today and I'm super
excited.
Smell like? I don't know. I haven't opened it up yet. It's funny because it says Evan Kern Stat Mando on mine.
What?
And
told you.
Yeah, so it says Evan Kern Stat Mando. And so my buddy Chase was like, I'm assuming this is for you. And I was like, yeah, it is. And
Did you
anyway, so I'm actually...
No, I told you my tracking code. When I saw it, it was like it got delivered to Good, Virginia, and I'm like, oh, did I get Nick's?
Oh, whoa! Telling people where I live. Jeez, my gosh.
Well,
Evan, we don't tell everyone that you live in Keene.
My goodness! If only PDGA didn't explain where you.
Well, mine says Paxton, Massachusetts.
Ready?
Oh shoot, we say "good" all the time. I don't think
I know. I'm totally kidding.
Ready?
Cool. I just want to cover my base.
I'm gonna blow your minds here. You ready? Wait, actually, let's do some music before we get into. Here we go. This is the Discraft Ledgestone Open Picks. Nick and Matt show. Okay, you ready for this? Blow your minds. Calvin Heimberg, everybody. I am picking him, and
so far that's not blowing my mind.
Yes, but after last week's take, I'm saying that I think there's going to be a shift because I feel like he needed a shift and he needs a shift. He's a great player. We all know that my take is the best player to not win as much as he should. This is the shift. This is the event. I know he's played well. He can do it. This is the one. Paul Macbeth's out. Ricky Wysocki's a great player. But I'm picking Calvin. It's either Calvin or some dark horse. And we should do another pick who can play highest up above their average. That'd be fun. But Calvin Heimberg. And let's go MPO. So who else got something here?
I'm going to go with the name you also mentioned. I'm going to go Ricky Wysocki.
Darn it.
You can pick him too, Ben. No. We can hold hands and skip to the finish line in our tandem bucket hats.
Go full screen on you for a second.
On me?
Yeah, I just want to see where he's at.
He's on the beach.
Bucket hat with headphones is a bold choice.
Dude, at the beach.
Bold choice.
In a sweet office.
Evan, you wish you could pull this off, bro.
I wish I could too. Man, Ben, your style is out of this world. Like I don't know many people who can rock your consistent style.
Peep this.
Don't know what that is.
Kirksville College of Osteopathic Medicine.
Wow.
KCOM. Alumni, baby.
All right, back to Nick. What was your pick, Nick?
Let's see. We haven't talked about him much lately because he wasn't at the Euro swing, but Simon frickin' Lizotte is playing this event, and I got my boy Simon taking it down. I feel like he is just full-on refreshed on life, rejuvenated, and he's itching for that number 2 win this year. So Simon frickin' Lizotte is my pick. Shout out to MC Hip Chase because he said Simon playing, and I knew that, but I wanted to shout about it anyways.
Quick break. His kid is so cute. Just watching like what he puts out on social media. Like he's walking and doing all this stuff now. Like, oh man, let's go, Emmett. You're killing it.
Dude, he's so cute. Simon plays a guitar for him and he goes like, he dances.
He says,
no way. Okay,
he's so cute.
I need to see that right away.
Yeah, maybe we'll post a video one day.
Ben, go ahead.
I was gonna go Ricky Wysocki, but I can't.
Do it with me. Do it with me.
No. Steve Falco wouldn't like that. I'm gonna go Paul Macbeth. Paul Macbeth.
Stop it.
He's
Ben.
not
He's
even
not playing.
Oh, I'm gonna go. Well, yeah. Well, the Ricky Wysocki gave me a curveball. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna go.
Go Matty O and call it a day. We know.
Okay, fine. I will go Matty O. He's a.
You remember he was in it last year, right?
He's a Woods Warrior. And then yeah. Oh, we haven't picked FPO, but yeah, for MPO, Matty O.
All right. FPO.
You want me to lead
Damn, no one's picked Corey Ellis coming off a major win. No recency bias out of this group.
Dude, there's nothing
Corey's
wrong.
actually, I think, a great pick, but I think the reason I didn't pick Corey, and I want to explain this to the chat, is he said he didn't like Northwood's Black all that much. And I think that plays a huge part in the success people have at tournaments. I think it's kind of one of those things where when you're missing lines, you're like, damn, I'm missing lines on literally one of the hardest courses. It gets to you.
You're right. You have to force yourself to like the course. Let's watch how Aaron Gossage does at Maple Hill this year. Let's just watch.
Yep.
And I got to be the stickler of the crew because I always am.
You always are. Yep.
It's Northwood Black. No S, singular.
Look,
it's one
I'll
course.
call it what I want, Evan.
It's not Maples Hill.
Yeah. Evan, you just debate people for no reason.
It's not Clement Farms.
It's
not
Smuggler's
Borderlands.
Notch.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not Muggler's Notch.
Evan was roasting us because we did the Dizzy Bat wrong. Like it was like the biggest thing pressing on his mind.
Okay, I'm not. I know I didn't join in that conversation, but I was 100% on board with what Evan was saying. Just saying.
Okay.
Anyways,
I was just
really quick.
him,
No,
just
Ben, we'll talk about it afterwards. FPO picks.
Follow social media. You can see intern Ben and myself doing weird real stuff. We'll come out with more soon. Okay. So FPO picks.
Kristen Tatar, no Paige Pierce, but I think everyone else.
I am
including
going.
Natalie Ryan because this is a United Series event.
I'm putting my money where I'm not my money. I'm putting my mouth where my pick is, or whatever they say. I told Haley King she would be the next thing. Like, not this year. I didn't say this year. And I am hesitant because I'm doing this more out of like a hope-filled pick. It's there. Is she going to show it off? Haley King. That's my pick for FPO. And obviously there's a 5 or 6 or 10 I could pick out of here, but I'm going Haley King.
I like that pick.
Okay. Calvin and Haley. Let's see.
All right. I am going Simon Lizotte and Katrina Allen.
Okay.
Sunset Hills, she is going to be draining circle 2 putts all day, and she fillets wood shots.
Filet.
Dude, I played Sunset Hills this year, by the way.
Chick-fil-A. Steak filet.
I am stoked that Sunset Hills is back. I'm glad we came to the United Series and that we're seeing FPO at Ledgestone because I'm stoked for this course. I'm tempted to go Holland Handley because of the Albatross, but I'm going to stick with recency bias and FPO. I'm going Owen Scoggins.
Big time.
Missy Gannon won this by 6 strokes last year. We can't forget that, but it kind of was blown out the last few holes or last half. I'm going Owen Scoggins.
Right.
She can win anywhere, especially with Kristen Starr not in here because that would be the easiest pick in the world if she was.
Oh, yeah, man.
Big Money Missy.
Big
Money Missy.
Yeah, Owen Scoggins needs a good name. She's got to have a good name.
Sloggin Scoggin. No, that's not a good one.
No.
But I did get to play. I did get to play Sunset Hills this year, guys, out at Junior Worlds. It was a practice round, and that was really cool. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. I think it's a fantastic course for them. So, are we gonna do as our wrap up here? Above average player. It's kind of a shot in the dark as it is.
Wait, I didn't get my pick.
Oh, go then. Pick it.
Cat merch.
No, I
was sorry. We ruin Ben's picks all the time. Ben, here is your stage. Make your pick. It's going to be awesome.
Screen. Give yourself the show.
Can you give me sad music?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It's coming.
Guys, everyone makes fun of me on this show. I can't catch a break wherever I go.
Okay, let's make a pick.
It's so slow. What am I gonna choose? I got the blues. It's clear to me that it's Big Money Missy.
There you go. Big Money Missy.
You got to work on the ending, but that was great, Ben.
Well,
I enjoyed
music
it.
cut off.
Just cut off. All right, so big money Missy. That's a good pick. All right. Evan, you're gonna pick Paige Shue as your highest above average?
Hey man, I think she's pretty good. Maybe not top 5, but she could definitely finish well here. A top 5 in the world overall in rankings. She could finish top 5 in this event. But let's start with MPO because I already have it in mind, and I still have to pick FPO for our. What do we have an official name for this game?
No.
Just
what did we
best
say?
above average?
Yeah, I forget what we called it.
We'll have to have a cool name for that. That's where the chat comes in. Until we have the cool name for it, I will pick Casey White. I'm feeling it. Refresh from Finland. It's not been the best season for Casey, so that's good for me. I say that with love and hope for this tournament. I don't know how he's done here at the pass, but I feel like it kind of suits well for him. That's just a gut feeling. So I'm going Casey. Let's go around because I still have to work on FBO.
Dang, this is hard to pick this one. I want to say like Lisa Fakis or Holly Finley. So I'm kind of on the spot here. Hannah Wynn, all these players that have the chance. Sarah Hokum, I picked her at European Open. She did it right for me.
You're going straight to FBO?
Yeah.
Did you do MPO?
No, I did. I'm just picking FBO.
Oh, okay.
All right, Holly Finley. I don't even know what her average is, so it's kind of fair. I don't know. I'm just picking a player I think is going to do better than they usually do. Holly Finley. You can do whatever you want. I also have to give MPO.
Ooh, this is tough.
Greg Barsby. I'm giving both. Greg Barsby and Holly Finley.
That's a good pick. Good pick.
I'll say for FPO, it's going to be Alexis Mandujano. She's going to have another stellar tournament this week, back to back. And let's see.
Dude, Greg Barsby. I'm so clutch with that one, I think. I remember last year, wasn't he like lead card round, like the second to last round or something? Last round, he did good in Northwoods.
It was a Texas State.
This one is tough.
This is tough because like I'm doing a few research bits, and like a lot of these players have better average finishings than you would expect.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I haven't heard him a lot, and then you look him up and you're like,
I got one.
Yeah, that's Holly Finley probably.
I said Alexis Mandujano and Austin Hannum.
Oh, that is a good
Those are my 2 picks.
Austin Hannum.
Those are my 2 picks.
All right. As I'm kind of doing last minute stuff, which Ben, if you're ready to go, you can go too.
Oh, you guys weren't going to skip me?
Are we official? Well, I still have to do FPO, so I was going either you go before me or after. But are we officially doing elite and major average finish for the season?
I think it's
all silver and above.
Yeah, all
silver and above.
Yeah,
all right, cool. I'll put that together, Matt, so it won't have to be on you.
Okay,
and we'll make it nice and fancy and automatic. So with that, I got this down. I know who I'm picking. I'm going Diesel D and Carey.
Okay. D.
That's what people call her.
Is that your nickname for her, or people actually call? I've never heard that.
I've heard people call her that.
I like that.
So I don't know why. I couldn't tell you anything about it, but I've heard it before, and got to continue it on and pretend like I know what I'm doing.
Nice. All right, Ben.
For my
do it.
Oh, for my MPO pick, I don't know what rhymes with it, but I'm going with Silas Schultz.
Oh,
yeah, he's
above
the
average.
Best. And for my FPO, I forgot. This music kind of confused me. Oh yeah. So, my pick for FPO, I'm feeling her strongly. It's gonna go Stacey Ronsley.
I almost picked her actually. I think that's a great pick.
Thank you.
The first song was definitely better than this one, but I appreciate it. I think
Schultz, like John Smoltz.
Ooh, good throwback. No, I think it was good. It adds something to the show. But I'm just saying, if I'm being critical of your music, because you are a musician on Spotify with millions of views,
thank you.
I like the first song better.
No, me too.
Nice. We'll
the sad
one.
Yeah, we'll have to keep coming back and making these songs. See what's the best.
All right. Wow. What a show.
Those picks really wiped you out.
Dude, you know how last year, or what was it? Last week or the week before, we did like a super long show. We were talking about like just Ben's gameplay. Then me and Ben went out and did a flex start. Ben beat both of us.
Hey, he putted well. Yep. He had a couple misses, but like He had
Wow,
good
that's
comebacks
what practice
to
does.
It does. Nick
Right?
Nick changed my
Oh
life.
my god.
Oh my goodness.
Just
He's got a ways
practicing
to go.
putting and keeping track of it is great.
I got a ways to go, but I played a Pyramids Flex, and I could have been like +5, but I was hitting 30-footers like it was nothing. It felt great.
Man, speaking of that round, I got to tell one quick story. We were Matt and I had both had great drives. You know, a hole that's birdieable, a little tough. It's hole 9 at Cogsall. We're both like 45 to 50 feet away.
We were 60, dude. I walked it off.
I don't know if maybe. But it was downhill, so it's like you don't need as much power, but you know, it goes downhill, so it's a death putt after. We're, you know, kind of watching the other shots go from Ben and the other card mate, which shout out to him. He's a fan of the show. Richard. Yeah. He was fun to play with. But Ben's Matt like walks it off. He's set on. He's like, I'm running it. And I'm like, dang it. I'm like a foot closer than Matt. So same distance, but I go second between us. Matt cashes it perfectly, and Matt's a way better putter than me. But I step up to it, and I'm like, it's a flex start. Like, I'm not here to play my own game. I'm here to play against Matt. And I'm like, I gotta go for this.
Cha-ching.
Right height was like wide by like a good foot or so. So it wasn't terrible. But
and
it wasn't
missed the comebacker. Don't forget that.
Go long. I missed the comebacker. I was not going to forget that. I was going to mention it to everyone here. A good old 3-putt. I was closest, but not like, you know, braggable closest.
That is a good story, mainly because I hit my putt in your story. That was good. But
that is big putted.
Yep. So what's crazy?
Should have done the Evan Kearns dump and run.
And if it wasn't a PDGA sanctioned round, I 100% would have. That's the scenario for the dump and run.
Yeah.
So,
but if we're talking about good putts and good shots, oh man, that one on 15, which explaining this will make no sense, but just the earliest release I had on a huge forehand, missed all the trees off the fairway, got in circle for an awesome birdie luck and missed my putt. So I had Ben's putting yips, not putting yips, but just
bad
missed
putting.
ones.
See, guys,
you know,
listeners,
practice your putts.
Men and women of all ages, Nick and Matt show. We have fun out there too. We just yuck it up, and then we go out there and we're just about to start. And fans of the show, shout out to all of them. They'll come up and they go, "The real question is intern Ben going to beat you today?" And I'm like, "Dang it, we're starting out." Like,
someone actually asked that?
That is the real question.
Walked up.
Hey, I want to throw this
before
out.
we went off.
I didn't know that.
That was like their question. I was like, "Yep,
I did."
And you did.
He found he found my disc, and I went back to him, and he was like, "So who won?" And I was like, Ben held Matt off. He almost blew up on 17.
Yeah.
What'd you get? Like a double or triple bogey there? Hit a tree.
Had I not even bogeyed that hole, I would have tied you. It's stupid. You doubled it. I bogeyed. Okay.
Last story here. We're Cogsall is a wooded course. We're on one of the wooded holes, tight line. Hole 14 for people who know the course. Ben's like halfway up, a little bit off the fairway, which again is like a road or less. Barely off with all these kind of fern plant trees that are up to your waist. Ben's like lining up his line for like a full minute. You know, like we should have had an official come over and watch us. He gets it set. He finds his line, goes in his backswing, nails the bush right in front of him. The disc goes like 11 feet.
That was,
and he has to rethrow right away.
That's one of those moments. I literally said, like, this is the worst thing in disc golf ever. When you're like, you don't even think of something like a tree or anything, and you just throw it, and it nicks the thing you don't even look at, and you're like, how did that just happen?
You did the classic, like, just throw your hand down so hard, like slap yourself. You're like,
because I just felt so dumb. I literally threw into the bush because I didn't see the bush.
But like literally is obstructing your line. Like you had to step in.
Take your time, look at your line, and then he throws, like it hits a bush 1 foot in front of him and just trickles through.
Because I didn't see it. It's like I was too locked in on my shot that I didn't even see.
Nick, move back, bro. We have so much fun on these courses.
I was just about to say, and I want to shoot this out to the chat and the post audio listeners. Comment on YouTube is I'll be back home in about 3 weeks, I think. Right up to Massachusetts, and we're gonna film some awesome videos, and we want to know, what do you guys want to see from the Nick and Matt show in the videos that we film? Casual rounds, fun rounds, razz rounds, whatever you guys want. Just let us know what you want. But anyways, everybody, thank you for tuning in on this wonderful Monday night. It's been an absolute pleasure. For 150 episodes, we've been able to do all of this. We actually released a special episode last Tuesday. Matt and I and Chris Clark from discgolf.law. If you want to hear our thoughts on the United Series, go check that out. It's from last Tuesday. That's episode 149. But once again, thank you all for 150 awesome episodes. Evan and Ben have been the most pleasurable, great additions that we've made to this show, and we appreciate all you. I say it every single week, but I love you guys. I love doing this show. It is a very, very, very fun time. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. Get a chance to win this awesome giveaway that we are doing. Once we hit the 10,000 subscribers, we are going to launch it. So once again, check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Subscribe, like the channel, tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you on the next one.
That's right. Hey, Evan and I will be at I think it's a B tier, a weekend of disc golf at Westy Acres in Mass.
Wow.
Yeah, let's go.
Different division.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I just released a video, first one to Ace, wins $500 featuring Big Germ. Please go watch it. That's all.
Big Germ.
If you didn't know, intern Ben is growing up and he has his own he runs expos, he has a YouTube channel. He doesn't need us. He does this for the charity of it. Go over to his channel. I think it's Ben Kenny's.
Yeah, my name, yeah.
Ben Kenny.
Ben Kenny.
Ben Kenny on YouTube.
Yes. Or at Benjamin Kenny.
Or Instagram Ben Kenny's. But you can find he's doing cool stuff. He's giving away lots of money. Big Germ showed up at the last one. Check it out.
Super cool.
Until next time, everyone. Intern Ben, you're awesome. Nick, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.